5-second delay in case one of us swears.
That's so.
Haley,
Yes.
hi.
Hi. Speaking of YouTube, we are now live. So
Oh. Okay, and so we are good to go.
yes, I just don't see Steve in the waiting room.
Councilman Kalenda will be here as soon as he possibly can. He had another, or he had a conflict in schedule, so he will zoom in as soon as he is able.
Okay, I'll
And
keep
he
an
said
eye
it would
out.
be, please, thank you very much. So with that said, it is Tuesday, June 8th, 2021. This is the regularly scheduled an hour early Town Council, Warren Town Council meeting. We will start with the Pledge of Allegiance. So if everybody would unmute to say the pledge, please, we may start.
I pledge
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation,
under God, indivisible,
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All righty. Ms. Spironi, do we have a public comment?
We do. We have Phil Keefe is, I believe he is on. Yes, he is.
Okay,
Phil?
I do not see him on the screen.
I just promoted him.
Oh, there he is. Okay. When you are able, Mr. Keefe, please do unmute yourself. The floor is yours for public comment. And just to remind each other and the viewing public, it is tradition that we have an opening period of time for public comment, whereby members of the community can speak to the council and to all those watching about a matter that is important to them. It can be an announcement, it can be questions. The council cannot take action, but this evening we do have Phil Keefe. And again, Mr. Keefe, you may now unmute yourself, introduce yourself, your name, your address, and the reason for your appearance tonight before us. Can Mr. Keefe unmute himself, or does he need to be unmuted?
I think he's unmuted now.
There you are. Hello.
Hi, my name is Philip Keefe. I live at 12 Reed Avenue, Warren, Rhode Island. I'm the current president of the Laurel Park Improvement Association, and I apologize for having to butt into the meeting like this. We have a member of our association named Ann Morrill, and we were late in getting a formal request into the town council, so I apologize for this. But on July 3rd, we're commemorating her efforts for advocating for our association, the Kickapoo River, and the town of Warren over her lifetime. I don't know if you people are familiar with Ann Morrill, but she's been a fixture in our community and for the river. And we're dedicating a plaque and affixing it to a stone on our town, on our beach. And we were just wondering, I know I missed the opportunity to formally propose if we could get some kind of commendation from the town of Warren for her efforts over the years. And that's really the only comment I guess it's a question if there's a way we could do that now at this late time.
Ms. VP Hanley, did you want to respond?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask Ben if, because it's not on the agenda, if it's just a resolution or a commendation, can we do that? Would be okay with the open meetings law because there was nothing on the agenda?
Sure, you can do that.
Okay,
Not a violation, correct.
okay. I will make a motion that we send a resolution out honoring Ann Morrill for her service for the Kickapoo River.
A commendation,
A commendation.
yes. Okay. Do we have a second?
Second, for discussion,
Yes, go ahead, Mr. Councilman DePasquale.
can we please include when we made Miss Morrill, gave her, I think, a Lifetime Achievement Award? So I would like to make sure that people realize that we've very much appreciated the work she's done for the community leading up to this request, and wish her a happy birthday in August also.
Absolutely.
Thank
And-
you.
And her husband, Ken.
Right, I have in fact in front of me a letter that was sent by Mr. Keefe. And I will read this pertinent part, that Ann and her husband Ken were founding members and officers of the Kickamuit River Council, lifetime members and officers of the Laurel Park Improvement Association, and frequent advocates in front of Save the Bay, the CRMC, and any other entity that could help or hinder keeping our river clean. No one worked harder or spoke with a stronger voice than Ann Morrill in defending the Kickamuit River. There will be a ceremony and plaque dedication at the Laurel Park Beach on July 3rd. What time will that be, Mr. Keefe?
We're right now tentatively set for 4 o'clock pending, we want her families all coming in for this, so it probably will be at 4 o'clock.
All right, maybe if you wouldn't mind sending just an email to Clerk Speroni and letting her know, and she can share that to the entire council in case any of the council is able to make it to the ceremony that day. But consider Ms. Ann Morrill commendated for her years of contribution to the community and especially the Kickamuit River.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate this, and she does, and her family, and Laurel Park does.
Wonderful. And she can watch this all if she's not watching right now. The YouTube is a playback of the entire meeting is available on the town's website, so she can see it.
She's aware of this. It might be a surprise for her a little bit too.
Great. Thank you.
No, thank you all. I appreciate it.
Welcome.
Have a good day. Have a good rest of the week.
Thank you. Next, we have another a special request, and with the council's approval, the agenda item P2, the applicant for representing Matthew Court has asked if there would be any way that we could hear his request prior to 6:30. And as it is currently 6:08, if the council approves hearing that request now, then the applicant can be on their way and not worry about missing their other commitment.
I make a motion to move the agenda item forward.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All righty. So with that said, if you would like to open your agendas to page 20, the item is P2, request. Oh, I should ask, Mr. Daniels is here. Rick Daniels is here. You can hear us?
I can. Can you hear me?
Yes, we
Yeah.
can. Thank you.
Thank you.
So there is a request to close Matthew Court Circle to car traffic for a block party. This applicant is Rick Daniels of 12 Matthew Court. The date is for the event is July 4th, 2021. Let's make that correction here. I know that you wanted to do it last year, but it didn't happen. It is the year 2021. And the time frame is from 11 a.m. until 10 p.m. There will be no entertainment. However, in the application, there will be lots of good times and storytelling. I understand that both the police and fire chief have reviewed this application. Are either Chief Souza or Chief Borges on the line to give their opinions? I know this is early for them. We could end up doing this contingent upon their approval if they are not available.
They're both here.
They are both here. Okay. Then could they please give their opinions if this is a safe thing to do?
Madam President, Chief Borges on.
Hello?
Yes, good afternoon. We did speak with Mr. Daniels about his event. This is actually an event that was actually approved back in 2016, a similar event by the council. There was, and back then there were no issues concerning the event. It was actually on July 3rd. He's expecting between 50 to 75 people. The event will run from 11 to 10 p.m. No live entertainment. However, there'll be some played video through a stereo music. The alcohol will be served by the homeowners on private property. And the main concern is that the street will be access to rescue and fire if needed.
Motion to approve.
Second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. You are approved for your request to close down Matthew Court on July 4th from 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. Have a great time. All of our best to the entire neighborhood there. Enjoy.
Thank you to the council and happy 4th of July early. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All righty. The next first item on the agenda, I think you will feel like there's an echo in the room, or we've been here and done that already. But this is the actual real final adoption of financial year 2021-2022 budget. Is everybody prepared to really do this? Everybody has reviewed the documents and is comfortable with the budget as we have approved it in the past.
Yeah, motion to adopt the budget for years 21 and 22.
I will second that.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Would, Mr. Ferreira, would you prefer a roll call vote?
Yes, please. Yes, please.
Okay, so we will do that again. I will start with Vice President John Hanley,
Aye.
Councilman Brandt Heckert,
Aye.
Councilman Joseph D. Pasquale.
Aye.
And from myself, President Carrie Cronin, I vote aye. And with that, we have a 4-person vote, and the budget has been adopted and passed it. And a round of applause for that. Next, was there a comment?
No.
Okay. Next, we have interviews, and there are
President,
none.
Oh.
Yes,
we do have one final stage to that budget adoption, and that's the capital rollover, the approval of the capital rollover as presented.
okay.
Motion
That
to
would be
approve
the
the,
final step.
motion to approve the capital rollover as presented.
I'll second that.
Okay, and I will go roll call again. Vice President John Hanley,
Aye.
Councilman Brandt Heckert,
Aye.
Councilman Joseph D. Pasquale.
Aye.
For myself, President Gary Cronin, I vote aye. We have now really adopted the budget and the capital rollover. Manager Michaud, there is the potential for further financial housekeeping to happen. Is that something you want to address right now? Or would you like to speak at a later time in the meeting?
I could very quickly address it now if that works. So just a couple things. Before the end of the fiscal year, I will be asking the council to approve some reallocations. We did have some accounts that unfortunately went over due to, in a large part, to the COVID-related expenses. But we are overall projecting to remain in the black. I mean, we're not running a deficit, so it's just a reallocation from one account to another. So I will be coming back to the council with that once we have a better picture. You know, we still have a few weeks left in the fiscal year. And then, you know, we're getting a lot more information about the American Rescue Plan. There's several training sessions that are being held over the next couple of weeks for both myself and Ms. Chan. So we'll be coming back to you again with more information about that. We are scheduled to get our first payment on the American Rescue Plan on or about July 2nd. So before that date, I would like to have a conversation with the council, perhaps unfortunately at a special meeting, but I think that would be a worthy topic of discussion to talk about how the recommendations are going to come to the council on how to expend those funds. Obviously, it is going to be a council decision, but I think there should be a process for how those recommendations come about and how we get input on those priorities.
Question for Ms. Mishu and Ms. Chan.
You may speak. Sorry, I was muted.
Okay. Will we have prior time in regard, I mean, I should say, how long do you think the window for this opportunity is in regards to the potential refunds from the federal government?
So the American Rescue Plan funds, we will have, a couple of years just to expend the money. We'll be getting payments over the next, we'll be getting payments. The first payment's July 2nd, then we expect another payment probably about a month or a month and a half after that. And then 12 months later, we would receive the remainder of the funds. So this is going to be an ongoing process.
And are these all COVID-related expenses? So how do we spend money in the future regarding how we spent our money on COVID?
So there's a lot of rules. The rules document is right now it's about 160 pages long as to how those funds can be expended. The majority of the allowances have to be COVID related. It can be lost revenue. It can be additional expenses that are COVID related. There's also some limited ability to spend funds on infrastructure, but it's limited to water, sewer, and broadband. There are some absolute prohibitions. You cannot use any of the funds to fund pensions, and you cannot use any of the funds to provide tax cuts. But other than that, there's a lot of information coming out. There's more information coming out all the time about what the federal government is or is not going to allow those funds to be used for. So I think my recommendation is that we get together a group of stakeholders that would work together to go through all those regulations and come up with some allowable options for the council to help you to make your decisions on how those funds should be spent.
I have one last question, if I could.
Yep.
If the infrastructure bill passes, do you think there will be money for the rescue station?
Possibly. So the infrastructure bill there's not a lot of information available. The thing we do know about the infrastructure bill is that if it is passed, it will be a chunk of money that goes to the state of Rhode Island, and the cities and towns will have to make application to the state for those funds. So it will depend where the priorities are, both on the federal side, but also on the state side, what gets funded through that bill.
Madam President, if I may, just to follow up on the rescue, we have submitted a request to the Senate Appropriations Committee for funding for the rescue station through Senator Reed's office.
Oh, thank you, Bob. Good to hear that, Mr. Rulli.
Yep, thank you. That is good information to know and to be proactive rather than the last to get a request in. So with that said, would it make sense to try to get a quick special meeting on the books now? If everybody has a calendar available. We have the last week of June, 28th, 29th, and 30th. If that would make sense. Is there a preference in the room? Manager Michaud, do you have any conflicts any of those 3 days?
I don't have any conflicts myself.
Okay. Is there a Tuesday preference for the council, a Monday or a Wednesday?
I didn't think this was an immediate request right now.
No,
I'm sorry.
we do need to make this happen before the end of the year or the fiscal year, and the end of the fiscal year is June 30th,
Well, these
correct?
are our rollout. This is for our budget stuff, not so I'm confused. This isn't the federal.
Right, there's two issues, and I'm sorry, it's my fault because I mixed the two discussions. There's our reallocations that need to be addressed prior to the end of the fiscal year, and there's also the beginning of the discussion about the federal money in preparation for that first payment on July 2nd that we'll be receiving.
Two separate issues. I understand. Thank you.
So the actual, the thing that we need to accomplish by the 30th of June would probably be a fairly simple discussion. I would imagine you will have a series of recommendations for us. So, it probably will not take a huge amount of debate and conversation, rather, yes, we approve this, a motion and a passage, correct? All right.
Correct.
And it is better for some members of the council to start a little bit later at 7. So is a 7 p.m. Meeting time on either the 28th, 29th, or 30th amenable? Are there any conflicts that anybody has right now?
I don't,
No.
All right.
I prefer the 30th, the Wednesday, if that's amenable.
Yep. So for contingent upon anything else that may happen, let's pencil in Wednesday, June 30th at 7 p.m. for that special meeting to take care of the task at hand.
Are we going to be live or Zoom?
That's a good question. I think the goal is to be live by the July meeting. Given that this is going to be a quick one, I would prefer Zoom myself. So we don't have to all get there and then get back home again. I think that's fine by me.
Okay.
So let's say Zoom. Wednesday, 6:30, 7 p.m. Great. It's a date. Next would be interviews, if we had any. There are still positions open. Conservation Commission, there is one position. Economic Development Board, there is one alternate position. The Planning Board, there is one position. And we still have 2 positions on the Voluntary Historic District Committee Board of Appeals. And the fate of that board may be limited if I think that might be something we want to recommend phasing out or refocusing to another place, so it's not just hanging over our shoulders. The acceptance of minutes, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 sets of minutes to approve. Has everybody? Yep. Yes, Councilman Hackert.
Should we advertise these positions going forward?
That was a little, your sound wasn't great, or maybe it was mine, but you're reminding us to advertise these?
Yes, correct.
Yep.
I think that makes sense. I wouldn't be as eager to do that in the newspaper if we didn't have a member, a position open on the planning board, but given that we do, let's do that. Do we have a motion?
That's my motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Councilman DePasquale?
We should put these on Facebook, because even though we can't use that as one of our 2 places to mandatory, I don't know if we do. I should ask that in the form of a question. Do we advertise these openings on Facebook or Inform Warren or any of those outlets? That's a question. And if there's an answer and it's no, we should.
Manager Michaud, you may answer that. I'm not on Facebook.
So we don't have an official Town of Warren Facebook page. We have, the police department has a Facebook page, Recreation has a Facebook page. I think that's it. So certainly we could push it out through the police department's page and ask Inform Warren to share it out. We could do that, but at this time we just didn't have the ability to effectively monitor a town-run Facebook page, so we don't have one.
And could I have one more question? And Mr. DeSisto, it's not on the agenda in regards to this issue. What I'm discussing is the issue of advertisement because we have openings. So does that give me the latitude to have a quick question?
It depends.
Because I think for things like this, we should have the town manager, the authorization, and maybe the clerk to have a Facebook website page that we don't have to worry about anyone jeopardizing in regards to the monitoring and all of that. I don't think a lot of people even know that this is happening because of the antiquated ways of our advertisement requirements.
What you've question you posed, if there was discussion on it, would stray outside the Open Meetings Act. That's more appropriate for another meeting to set up perhaps a discussion on a town Facebook page.
Thank you.
In the meantime, like I said, I don't have any Facebook presence, but if any of the other members of the council or anybody who might be listening now to share that, that is not problematic. There is nothing stopping anybody who's on this or watching to do that.
I'd be happy to make up a graphic that could be shared. And then maybe just, send it around. Anyone who'd like to share it on their own could do so.
Good idea.
Thank you. All right. I think we've bitten around the edges of that one without getting ourselves in trouble. So has everybody reviewed the minutes, the 4 sets of minutes that we have? And are there any issues or errors?
I didn't see any. I will make a motion to accept the April 29th budget workshop minutes.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I will make a motion to accept the May 6th Barrington Warren DOT bike path presentation minutes.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I will make a motion, we accept the May 11th regular scheduled meeting minutes.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 And I will make a
Alrighty.
motion, we accept the May 11th executive session minutes.
Second.
Discussion.
Nope.
Yep.
This question is for the solicitor. Since we're having the Zoom meetings, I've been destroying my executive session minutes. Is that the appropriate thing to do?
Yes.
Thank you.
All right. Sorry about that. My mute on and off control is not very, it's giving me trouble. So we have, there's consent agenda P1 that requires no council attention. And then we can go on to the ordinance 01, chapter 18, article 5, tree ordinance, section 18-101, sections through section 18-120. This is the second reading.
Madam President,
Yes,
I think we need a motion to pass the consent agenda.
Yes.
Yes.
I will make a motion to pass the consent agenda.
I'll second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So back to the tree ordinance. So the changes, as we have made them since the last, or at the last meeting, are all in red. This is the time for any questions, comments, final concerns about those edits and changes. Does anybody, Councilman Heckert, you have the floor. Going to
Thank you,
mute
Madam
myself.
President. I'm a little confused about a permit being required, which is on page 6. Because at the last meeting, I suggested that we require a no-cost permit for someone to apply to remove a tree. And if I remember correctly, Mr. Solicitor, you said that could not happen. So as I read the section 18-110 permit required, it says a permit shall be required, but is not limited to planting, transplanting, pruning, applying chemicals, staking or guying, removing or disturbing any public tree or significant tree. So am I reading that correctly, that a permit is required under this ordinance?
Yes.
But did you not argue that we couldn't do that? I mean, it's as I remember.
I actually, I think that was from a prior meeting. that the discussion took place. If someone's volunteering for the status of significant tree on private property, and that is accepted by the town, then they're required to get permits to do any work on that significant tree. So I really don't see any other way for the town to enforce the regulations other than doing that. My original comments, and I believe we did have a discussion on that, was before this turned into a voluntary program. So in other words, what the homeowner would do is say, look, I've got this significant tree and I want it to be a significant tree, so it will be recorded in the land evidence records as such. But then if that homeowner or any subsequent homeowner wants to do any work on the property, they need to get a permit for that. And likewise, any tree on public property that requires the same.
Understood. Thank you.
But not, so if a significant tree on private property that has received the designation of a significant tree, the owner or previous owner has designated it as such. So say that's in the southern corner of the property, but they're doing work on the northern corner of the property, they don't need to get a permit, only if the work is within the drip line of the tree. Is that correct?
That's correct, yes.
Okay, so it's not just any work, it's work that might impact the health and well-being of that tree.
That's correct, yes.
Okay. Mr. Hanley?
Yeah, that same section, I read through the whole document, and that looks like the only place where we forgot to drop those last 3 words for redundancy.
I actually, on this one, I thought it was appropriate to keep it in for private property. Because what happens is it may this, as section 18-110 is currently drafted, that may mean you have a significant tree at the corner of the property. And then if there's any work to be done by the town on a sidewalk or anything else, that means that they would have to adhere to this permit requirement. And that's why I think it stayed in.
All right. I can live with that, but I mean, the definition of significant tree, yeah, that's fine. I can live with that.
That's I understand where you're coming from, but that's the only reason we kept that in, just to make it clear.
I can see it there. That's good. All right.
Councilman Hecker, did you have any further questions?
I do. Recently, it was brought to my attention that the new trees that were planted for the sidewalk restoration and street restoration on State and Miller, those trees were not getting watered. And so it kind of brought to mind, like, who's responsible for the maintenance of these new trees? Because it seems rather ludicrous to plant expensive trees and then only have them die because they're not getting watered. It doesn't sound like a big deal, but it actually is, because you lose a tree and it's an expense. So when I started looking at the duties for the tree warden, section 1, it talks about the tree warden shall plan, direct, regulate, control of protection, maintenance, and removal of trees. So if the tree warden is responsible for maintenance, would that include watering? Probably not. I mean, it seems like the tree warden would have a lot on his plate, and that would be beyond what he would be expected to do. So I guess what I'm wondering is, whose responsibility is it for the maintenance of such trees, like brand new trees that are likely to die if they're not taken care of in the first year? So it's not clear who does that. It also, if you skip down to number 3 in that section under duties, it talks about the tree warden shall formulate a master tree management plan and an inventory of existing public trees. That, again, it seems like a pretty heavy lift for the tree warden. the tree warden isn't here to talk to about it, but I would have to imagine that he might say, yeah, that's something that, is kind of beyond my purview. And so I just thought I'd bring this up at this point because it seems like the maintenance of the trees, the tree management plan should be given, that responsibility should be given to either tree commission or DPW. I'm not sure what the best route is on this. So
I will step in there. Apparently, Mr. Staton, the chairperson of our tree commission, has his hand raised. I would like to recognize him. I am guessing he is the telephone number that just appeared on the screen. Mr. Staton, you may unmute yourself if you have a comment or a question and answer to Councilman Heckert's question.
Well, in general, we watch the trees, and we watch the trees in the entire town. From the tree commission it has a relationship with the highway department, and more specifically with Jan. So we talk about it, and when something is needed, we discuss how it can happen. And so it's very open communication. And I did ask him about the watering of the trees, and he had contacted the Warren Fire Department. But then it had rained, a substantial rain right after that period. So since then, it really hasn't been an issue, but we are monitoring the situation.
We have a number of hands. I'm going to let Councilman Heckert finish his thought, as this was his question, then Solicitor DeSisto, and then Councilman DePasquale.
Well, yes, thank you, Madam President, and Chairman Staton, thank you for weighing in. And I know you and I did have a discussion about this. It's just that my concern is that the maintenance is under the duties of the tree warden, and I'm not sure that's the right place for it. And if it is under the duties of both the town and the tree commission, well, that's appropriate, I imagine. And if the fire department can be enlisted to actually water the trees, that's great. It just seems like I'm not sure about all those crossovers. If that's going to work on a regular basis, but I guess I'll say that if you're on it, if the tree commission is on it and the DPW is on it, that's fine. Those questions came back to me about whether or not the trees were going to get watered and taken care of it, which is in the first year. And then my second question was about the master tree management plan and the inventory of existing trees. So thank you.
Solicitor DeSisto, you're next.
Thank you. Yeah, I could just follow up. Section 18-104 has in its second sentence, the town shall have control of all public trees, shrubs, and other plantings now or hereafter in a street, park, public right or of way or easement, or other public place within the town limits, and shall have the power to plant, protect, care for, maintain, remove, and replace such trees, shrubs, and other planting. By town, that means for purposes of this ordinance, the Department of Public Works. So that's the primary for this situation. As I read the section on the tree warden plans, directs, and regulates and controls the protection, maintenance, removal of trees. And to me, that means that it gives the tree warden the ability to contact the DPW director and say, street trees were planted on this street, they're not being watered, they should be. And, the modern day tree warden, and not only in Warren, if this ordinance is enacted, but in other cities and towns now, is not the traditional fellow that just went in and cut down trees when they were dead. And I think where the tree commission is coming from on this ordinance, and I don't want to put words in Mr. Staton's mouth or Ms. Flanagan, who's here also, but the tree commission in section 18-107 is responsible for assisting the tree warden in the management of the tree ordinance. And I think what's contemplated here is that the tree commission will work in conjunction with the tree warden on the issues that you have up. So he does have a helping hand. I know that the tree commission is volunteer, but that is what is contemplated in this ordinance to make sure that the goals of the ordinance are met. Ultimately, however, when it comes down to the maintenance and care of the trees, that is the DPW, but for the town through the DPW, but they can be supervised, and the tree warden and the tree commission, they do have a role in that. And I think that's the regulatory scheme that's provided in this ordinance for the trees in the town.
Thank you,
And-
Mr. DeSisto. Mr. Staton, did you have something to add?
Yes.
ahead.
And I think Mr. Tzisto is absolutely correct. And that is the way it is working. Jan says to us, I'm not a tree guy, but you tell me what needs to happen, and let's communicate. And also we talk about scheduling, and we're talking all the time, quite often. So that is the way it's working.
Thank you. Councilman DePasquale, did you have a question, a comment?
Yes, I agree with Mr. DeSisto and feel that we should include the word oversee with the maintenance, because I don't read that as the person who's the tree warden will be going out physically watering the tree. So the maintenance to me would always be assumed that is a modem point. He's the contact. And I think everything else as explained is how it should be. So if there's any legal confusion there, Mr. DeSisto, would that clear any of that confusion up by simply inputting supervises or interacts with the maintenance? I mean, how do you want to phrase it? Because I didn't read it the way Mr. Heckert did. And I didn't have any questions about who's going to be doing the maintenance at all. And I think the new plantings should have a mandatory watering included, and they should have gator bags with them for the watering aspect. So to me, that is the 1 year part of the responsibility of planting the new trees. And for the urban forestry plan, I also agree that should be a supervisory position. And if it's going to be worked on by the tree commission, or even if we outsourced to a private company, I still believe that should be under the auspices of the tree warden.
I think as you read the entirety of section 18-108, it makes it clear what the tree warden's role is. I only quoted from section 18-108C1. And as to your second point, I think that's appropriate, but based on, and again, I defer to Mr. Staton on this because he's the expert, not I. But there has been quite a bit of change in not only the understanding of the care of trees, but also in the techniques that are used for basic maintenance for trees, particularly public trees. So I think it's more appropriate to put that scheme that you set out in your comments, Councilman DePasquale, in the rules and regulations. That is something that is under the purview of the warden and the tree commission too. Today, it's gator bags. Tomorrow, it could be something else that turns out to be even better for the health of the trees. So I think that's more appropriate there to allow the tree warden and tree commission to determine how that maintenance should take place. and then communicate with DPW on it.
So you think it's written fine?
Yes.
Thank you.
There we go. Does anybody else have any other questions or comments about this document?
Madam President, Ms. Flanagan has her hand up, and I believe Mr. Malik has his hand up. If you'd
Okay,
like,
thank you.
can
I
promote
can't,
them.
I don't see that. So, Ms. Flanagan, you may have the floor first, and
Give
when
me a
you're
second to
finished,
promote her.
I'm sorry?
Just give me a second to promote her.
Okay, so we will hear from Ms. Flanagan and then DPW Director Malik.
Hi, this is Jenny Flanagan. I just wanted to address the issue of the tree inventory and master tree management plan. I agree with Councilman Heckert that it's a heavy lift for the tree warden. We've been aware of that on the tree commission, and we're trying to find a way to have someone provided to the tree commission to help us do that inventory. Also quickly, the watering is in the administrative guidelines. There is reference to watering of the trees, so.
Sorry about that. Thank you, Jenny Flanagan. I am guessing one of these numbers is Mr. Malik.
Mr. Malik is the 640 number.
Hello.
Thank you, Madam. Thank you, Madam Councilman, committee members. Over the last 4 or 5 years, we planted a lot of trees, my department. If you notice, of course, on Water Street, many trees have been planted, Hale Street. And out of all the trees that we planted and many other ones, we've lost one tree. And that was on Water Street. And the company that ended up planting it ended up giving the town a new tree. So what I'm trying to say to all of you is, I don't think we should try to reinvent the wheel. I think how we work, my department with the tree commission has worked well. This year here, of course, we saw that little drought, and we saw that we were going to react. And 2 days before we went out there to water them, the rains came. So we're going to be monitored. It's going to be a hot summer, I think, so far. And if it happens again, we'll be out there to water them like we did Water Street, Hale Street, and many other places in the town of Warren. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much. Well, it would appear that there are many eyes on our newly planted public trees, and I'm sure if there's one that's looking particularly vulnerable or in bad condition, we'll hear about it and we'll know about it, and we'll share that to our tree warden, our tree commission, and the DPW director as needed. I think otherwise this document looks good. Unless there are any further questions or comments. Mr. Hanley?
I will make a motion. We pass, excuse me, I'm gonna go out on a limb before Mr. DeSisto leaves me in the dust with all of his tree jokes. But I'm gonna make a motion that we pass Chapter 18, Article 5, the tree ordinance, for final reading, second reading.
I'll second.
All right, so a roll call. Mr. Hanley,
Aye.
Councilman Heckert,
Aye.
Councilman DePasquale,
Aye.
and myself, aye. Great, good work, folks. We have a new article or an amended article to the ordinance. Next, we move to page, getting there. Oh, I skipped it.
I think it's page 13.
13 it is.
Yes, I skipped right over it. So 02 is Chapter 7, Amendment to Article 4, Section 7-132 at whatever, Affordable Housing Trust Fund. This is the second reading. Planner Rulli, if you have anything you would like to say about this document, and then we can, or if any members of the council have any questions for Planner Rulli, you can direct them to him, and then if he has any closing statements before we vote, that works too. Are there any questions on this amendment to the Affordable Housing Trust Fund? Mr. Hanley.
Yeah, I noticed a couple of grammaticals that are pretty easy to fix. And the two I found are right on the first page. There are shortage of affordable and accessible housing. That just doesn't work. Like there are shortages or something like that.
So it should either read, there are shortages or there is a shortage, which.
Yeah, there is a was crossed out and R was put in, but then that didn't relate well to the verb after it.
Yeah, so how did that happen? Or why did that happen? I would go back to there is a shortage. So let's fix that. So there is a shortage. And the next one?
Is in D. If you read the new sentence, it says low and moderate income that recognizes, should the word plan be in there? A low and moderate income plan that recognizes the need for a dedicated financial resource?
I think it should be, yeah, housing plan, correct?
Yeah, I think it's just missing that word plan in there. That's all I saw. The rest of it looked good.
Plan. All right. So that's in there. On D, in between the words income and that, add the word plan. Mr. DeSisto?
Yeah, I don't want to be nitpicky, but in subsection C, after town, there should be an apostrophe because it's possessive.
I make a request that we have the editing done prior to the meetings so that we, don't have to have this shed any light towards whoever may have typed this up.
Duly noted.
Thank you.
Sometimes you just don't notice things until you're looking at them at a critical moment, but I do not disagree. So are there any other content questions for Planner Rulli on this document?
None.
None? Mr. Rulli, do you have any final words before we take a vote?
No, apologies for the grammatical errors. But appreciate the support of moving this forward, and thank you.
Stay muted for a moment there. We have a rescue happening.
I have a question.
Councilman?
Mr. Rulli, would this allow us to possibly start, is there going to be more senior housing built in the town?
Is there possibly where, again, we've had this conversation at length, is where are the appropriate places to have additional development? I think we've identified the 136 corridor, whether that be Metacom or to a lesser extent Market, but I think there's potential for some of that on the Metacom corridor. If we, just statistically, if we look at the affordable housing that we have in town, 69% of it is senior, 29% of it is special needs, 3% is family. So I had a call from a consultant 2 days ago whether we had active 55 and older communities in Warren and whether we were planning that. We don't have any plans yet, but again, we're limited in terms of where these projects can go based on the availability of infrastructure.
Well, if I could just follow up, I think that's positive. I mean, it doesn't sound like we're saying no to it. But one of the concerns that I have, and I'm sure everyone is sharing, when you look at the real estate boom that's just hit, it's very similar to what happened at the early 80s when everything just got an additional $100,000 attached to its resale price. And for those of us who remember in the 70s when the senior village was built, it alleviated, a lot of concern, but I think there were only about 400 residents. So what I'm hearing constantly from people is the voucher system is, okay if you qualify, but people don't qualify. And I just see real estate going. I mean, a 3-bedroom apartment's $1,500. A 2-bedroom apartment's $1,200. I mean, I just don't know if we're ever going to be able to have our seniors staying in town, especially when that number starts at 55. So I appreciate the answer, and I hope we can maybe try to figure something out.
I mean, and Madam President, if you just indulge me for a moment, this has been something that, I've been speaking about quite often, is that, under Rhode Island housing guidelines, their definition of affordable housing for a 2-bedroom unit is $1,600 a month for rent. And, so, I mean, this is something that needs to be addressed. Their qualification for a ceiling on affordable housing for resale is $318,000 for a house, where the average home sale in Warren is $301,000. So, there's this is something I think that our state delegation needs to address as well. I mean, I'm more than happy to engage on this conversation, but, it's an uphill battle that we're losing because of how the state tries to address affordable housing. And I would just, not an opinion of the town, but an opinion of me, it's not working. But I'm trying to engage the state to have a more meaningful conversation. I think by some of the zoning changes we're proposing for the Metacom corridor, we can address this, whether it's seniors or other mixed income, but whatever's been the program leading up to this statewide is not working.
But I have one more follow-up. I think that it's time for us to start the rent stabilization discussion, because we've waited for the state and we're waiting and watching people have to leave Warren who grew up here. And I think that and Mr. DeSisto, this is maybe another question towards you, but is that something that Warren could take on its own, a rent stabilization program? It's a little outside of the field, but it's just a question.
What Mr. Rulli is proposing with this housing trust fund ties into the state's current program for creating more housing and therefore making housing more affordable. That's why this ordinance is as important as it is, and I think it's going to be used as a vehicle so that rent controls are not needed. And in fact, there will be not only more workforce housing, which is what, Bob, correct me if I'm wrong, this is what the thrust of this is, but it will also make it so that the funds from outside sources will be more available for Warren if we have this trust fund. Bob, is that correct?
That's correct.
And that's the main purpose of the ordinance. So I think this is the scheme that the town is trying to tie into, rather than going that other route, because there's funds available for this.
And not to belabor the point, I mean, the state has legislation that says if you don't want to do affordable housing, you can do a payment in lieu. What we're suggesting is something beyond that, and East Providence is doing this now, is that we give you additional density, you have the ability to either build more or contribute to the Affordable Housing Trust Fund. It's not capped at whatever the 40% requirement is. So in that exists today. So I think to your point, Mr. DePasquale, we're not waiting for the state to say you should do this, because we know that hasn't worked. I think what we're doing is we're trying to be in front of it and be fair to all parties, but giving additional density to developers, you can have an additional floor and have workforce housing, mixed income housing, or you can contribute into a fund. I mean, it works either way for the developer.
I appreciate that. It's just, it's getting difficult to live here financially, but I appreciate that you're getting ahead of it. And that's the effort I like to see from you, Mr. Rulli. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Good points made. Unless there are any other questions or comments on this article, do we have a motion?
I will make a motion that we approve 02, Chapter 7 Amendment to Article 4 regarding Affordable Housing Trust Fund. Is this the first reading or the second reading?
Second.
To pass it for the second reading.
Second.
So we will take a roll call. VP Hanley,
Aye.
Councilman Heckert,
Aye.
Councilman Di Pasquale,
Aye.
and I vote aye. The ayes have it. Thank you very much. Next, we have P2, which is, oh, we've already done P2. I've given that a check. P3 is a request for use of Warrentown Beach from Bread of Life Church. This is Laurel Coriander for an event on June 27th, July 25th, August 29th, and September 26th between the hours of 6 a.m. and 7 a.m. at the to perform baptisms at Warrentown Beach. Is Ms. Coriander with us?
I
believe
don't see her on. Carrie,
Tara's
at this
supposed to.
time.
Okay. I know Tara had reviewed this. There was, the original time was changed to be more accommodating of the time of year and the location. And did we not approve an event of this nature or a series of these in the past down there? I feel like this is not the first time. Maybe it was a different church or a different group. Mr. DeSisto?
It's my understanding that this would be the second time that this particular church has had this type of an event at the town beach.
Thank you. Was there a hand raised? I'm seeing the comment box.
I don't believe it's for this item.
Okay, very well. Mr. Hanley,
Oh, no, I was just, sorry, I was. over
fanning
my-
yourself?
Motion
Okay,
to approve.
We have
I
a
will
motion?
make a motion. I remember this in the past, and I don't think we had any issues. So I will make a motion that we approve P3 for the use of the town beach for baptisms on the requested dates
And times.
and times,
6
correct?
p.m.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Next, we have P4, request for a one-day entertainment license. It would be a wedding. The request is coming from Kathleen Burns of 9 Locust Terrace on July 9th, 2021, between the hours of 6:30 p.m. and 10 p.m. at 3 Locust Terrace. This is a string trio, keyboard, and singer. Is Ms. Burns with us? No?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yes, we're here.
yes.
Sorry. It just glitched. We're here. I apologize.
That's okay. So this, we're hearing, is this Kevin?
Yes, Kevin West. I'm Kathleen's fiance. Kathleen's here with me.
I'm here as well.
Okay, congratulations.
Thank
All
you.
right, so you are getting married and having the ceremony or the reception at 9 Locust Terrace?
3 Locust Terrace.
We're having the ceremony and the
9.
reception at 3 Locusts. We live at
Oh.
9, but we're having it at 3.
Okay, I see that. I see that right there. All right, does anybody have any questions for the couple?
I make a motion to approve. I see that it was approved by the police chief, DPW, and the fire chief and the rec director. So motion to approve.
I'll
I'm not
second that.
in the way of anyone getting married.
Thank you.
Don't blame me in the future.
Wise words. All right, so we have a motion. Did I hear a second from Mr. Hanley?
Yeah, I second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Let them hold their peace or forever hold your peace. All right, folks, have a great time and good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. All right, P5, request for a holiday license. This is from New England Novelty, 386 Market Street. We have the request for them to run their business in front of Zangari's, starting the New England Novelty is the process. When is the request to start?
June 22nd. Through
June
July
22nd,
5th.
I see it right there. June 22nd through July 5th. All righty. Have you ever been before us before? Mr.
Hi,
Lambert?
this evening. Good evening, yes. No, I have not.
Okay. Are there any questions from the council? I know in the past there have been issues raised about, are there any other bricks and mortar local Warren businesses who are offering products of this nature? And I am not aware that there are currently. But are there any questions from the council for Mr. Lambert? Mr. Hammer?
No, I'm very familiar with these types of setups per my position in Pawtucket. And the regulations they have to go through from the fire department and the building enforcement department. It's, you know, I'm not concerned of any safety issues at that part of it. I just want, you know, obviously by law, he's got to work it out with Chief Souza, and the police chief, I'm sure, would be involved as well. Make sure that there's security at night so nothing gets broken into and taken away. But I don't really have an issue with it at all.
I have a question.
Mr.
Yes,
Di Pasquale?
I don't see anywhere on here that this is for selling fireworks. Is that your intention?
It's to sell the sparklers, the Rhode Island legal sparklers. Yes, it should be in there. It is in there.
I will admit that I'm wrong if I can see it, but we had someone wanting to sell fireworks in the past, and we voted against it. I'm against it. There are people who, as Ms. Cronin said, pay taxes year round, brick and mortar. I don't see on here anywhere that it says fireworks, because that is your intention, and I'm against it for those reasons. Not your business, just coming into Warren to take advantage of the traffic and unfortunately, in my opinion, sidestep those brick and mortar buildings that pay taxes year round and try to do business here. So I appreciate what you're trying to do, but letting it be known, in the past, we voted against this, and I plan on voting against it now, and that's why I'm bringing this up. Thank you.
Madam President,
Mr. Hackert?
Joe, is there a brick and mortar fireworks sales shop in Warren? Is that, I'm confused.
I believe under the law, almost every Dairy Mart and supermarket, I mean, Tom's Market could sell them if they wanted to, I believe. I'm not, somebody else can educate me on if I'm right or wrong, but I believe anybody who has a victualling license or a business license in Warren who wants to sell fireworks out of their establishment could. Mr. Hanley, you probably know.
Yeah, Councilman Di Pasquale is correct. Any retail establishment, as long as they meet the requirements of the fire code and the building code for the safe storage and not too many of them located too close together, any retail establishment can sell them as a regular retail product.
Thank you.
Yeah, I recall Councilman Di Pasquale's concern in the past or opposition in the past, and I am not aware of any local Warren bricks and mortar stores who sell them, but I would not be surprised that they do. Mr. Lambert's application here, and his setup looks clean and safe and fits within the regulations and the parameters. And I'm neither here nor there. It's not my cup of tea, but I would entertain a motion if there is one from the council.
I'll make a motion to approve the holiday license. I don't think he's gonna compete with like the Dairy Mutts. I think the Dairy Mutts are more like an impulse buy. You're walking by and you see a box of sparklers and you grab it. I think he's gonna be more of a destination, just going for fireworks. I don't think it's gonna impede the actual sales in the brick and mortars that we have here. I think the only place that actually has a decent sized quantity, if I'm not mistaken, was Job Lot, and they didn't even have that much either. So I don't see it impacting them. So I'll make a motion, we approve the holiday license. Pending approval, all approvals from fire and police and building.
Do we have a second? I'm afraid we don't have a second. And hearing none, there is no approval. And with that, I thank you for your application, and I hope you understand that we are a small town and we are very supportive of our local businesses. And it looks like you have a good business, but we are going to give that what little sales of this type of item to our local folks.
Just have a question.
Yep.
If that's okay.
You may.
I haven't really, like you had said, is there any counselor that has a question for Mr. Lambert? And I heard one of the counselors speak, but I didn't get a chance to rebut or even say anything with regards to that. As far as I know, that there is a location that is going to be a temporary fireworks store in town. And if that's the case, then it's the same thing as another company coming in and taking away from the local business. If that's what your concern is, they are coming in and setting up a temporary store for the same amount of time. The difference is that we're going to be outside versus they're going to be inside. So how is that any different than what we're proposing?
They would still need a holiday license as well, even though they're in.
It's my understanding that they've already been approved.
Well, if it's a regular retail, they could slide in there, but if it was a store just coming in for this and they weren't existing before, they would still need a holiday sales license for us to sell on, what is it, Sundays in the holiday, Tony?
I was talking to the town clerk, and they said that another company had come in and did rent a space from someone in town, and basically the exact same thing that I'm doing, just for the short period of time. And the only difference is I'm going to be on the outside versus they're going to be on the inside.
Ms. Baroni, could you maybe illuminate?
He is correct. It's actually right next door to Lovely Nails, and they have been opened. It's up towards this part of Metacom. And they do have a holiday license, and they have been opened. And they've been there before. They got approved last year. And they have been approved by the building official, and I believe the fire chief has been there also to check in on them. But that's
so because they'd already been approved in the past, they did not need to go through the council approval process, and
Exactly.
you approved them at through the clerk's office.
And the department heads, yes.
Okay.
This
Does
is
that,
his first time.
okay. And is the person who is running that business, are they based here locally? Are they a Warren resident, or are they from outside of the community? Do you know?
I believe outside, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay, so for all intents and purposes, we are not, we have another establishment who is selling these type of products who is not a traditional Warren bricks and mortar business. What are the dates of their business? that their business is open?
From now until the 4th of July, and they're actually from Bristol.
Okay.
I'm also from Rhode Island. I mean, I'm from the area as well. I've had my business for over 20 years, and I've done business in many local towns. I've wanted to do business in Warren for years. I just couldn't find the right property in the right location. And this was the first time that something had come up.
Okay. Is there any appetite to reconsider a second for Mr. Lambert?
I'll make a motion again, that we approve the holiday license for the dates and times listed pending. Anthony, am I okay doing this?
You are, yes. This is not a motion to reconsider because the motion wasn't voted on. If it was a motion to reconsider, somebody from the prevailing party would have to make a motion. Because the motion wasn't seconded, Vice President Hanley can renew the motion
Okay.
and make it again.
I will renew the motion to approve the holiday sales license for the dates and times listed. I believe it's June 22nd to July 5.
Considering the new information, I will second the motion.
All righty, so we have a motion, we have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any
Aye.
opposed? So I'm sorry, Councilman Heckard, was that an aye for in favor or an aye for opposed?
I in favor. I
Thank
made
you.
a second.
And
And I even said yes, with that other information brought to light. To me, I guess you could look at it as Mr. Zangari is subsidizing his taxes with this man, no different than the other if it's a part-time lease. So thank you for that information.
the ayes have it then. Mr. Lambert, you are welcome to open your business on the dates approved, June 22nd through July 5th. Good luck to you.
Thank
Be
you
sure
very much.
that you be sure that you spend some of your proceeds at our local businesses. We have wonderful
100
restaurants and retail shops.
100% will. I promise you that. Thank you.
Thank you. You're welcome. All right. P6, we have a request for a mobile food establishment MFE permit from the ISH Limited Local Company, Stephen Fussin, from 56 Hawthorne Street. Is Mr. Fussin with us?
I do not see him on right now.
Okay, so what do we see here? The Ish is a food truck, and they have their registration, and they would like to do business in the town for events. Do we know anything about this? The Ish, have we approved them in the past?
I don't remember seeing them come through, but with the new laws, it's pretty much the state regulates it all. They just have to get their separate permit from us. But I think, didn't we pass an ordinance that says they have to stay so far away from existing restaurants and all of that? Yeah,
Right. That's for the mobile food carts.
Right, yep. So with all of that in place, I don't have a problem as long as they're vetted and registered and licensed by the state. I don't have any issues with that. So I will make a motion. We approve the mobile food establishment permit application for the Ish LLC.
Second.
All in favor?
Well, Ms. Cronin, hate to be a
Yes.
stickler, but this question is for Mr. DeSisto. It says on the bottom, and they initialed it, that they were aware that they need to be in front of the council meeting. It says right on the bottom of the application, right here. They initialed it. I mean, should we just get rid of that? Because I'd hate to have somebody, schedule themselves and come here and put all that time into being here, and we give them a hard time, and then we approve somebody who's not here.
That's at the discretion of the town council.
And I think that's a very good point. Was effort made to reach out to them and remind them? I know that you've done that in the past for other petitioners and applicants.
We
Yes, you have?
Yes, we have.
Well, there's a side of me that says just, it's a technicality, approve them, but there's the other side that says, do we know are the next applicants from Super Duper Food Sales here?
I don't see her on, but I do see a P9 is another MFE. We do have Kara on the meeting, so.
Okay, right, so that's for Plouf's Quality Catering and Food Truck?
Yes, but
So-
for Super Duper, I don't have anybody on at this moment.
Alrighty, so we can either
Carrie,
be. Yes?
Oh, Carrie, it's Steve Kalenda. If I could just be heard real quick.
You may.
I look at this, yeah, thanks. I look at this, and I apologize for my tardiness. I look at this as the application. I don't think it's making the application flawed or it should fail. If we want to develop a policy that says you must appear or the application will fail, then we could have that discussion. But I mean, Joe does bring up a good point, but I think them not appearing doesn't completely make it flawed, and we should, reject their application. I think we can move forward and approve it.
Well, I'm not saying we should reject it, but we did have a policy. We've discussed the matter in the past, and we've discussed it with great detail, and that's why it's here. Because people have applied and not shown up, and, we don't even know, I don't know.
Here's what I'm going to say. I think that going forward, I'm sure that the clerk's office has been diligent in having them initial that and reaching out to them. There needs to be a little more emphasis coming from the clerk's office, perhaps saying your permit will be, or your application will be denied unless you make some sort of previous arrangements to that you can't appear. Otherwise, you will be expected to appear.
But Ms. Cronin, I don't put this on the clerk. They've signed.
No.
It's
No,
signed right here.
I
The
know.
clerk did their job. So I don't think we should deny it, but I don't think we should hear them tonight.
Well, that's an option, and I'm not putting this on the clerk's office. I'm just saying, when they have them sign that, the word should be, and maybe they already are, and maybe these
It says
applicants.
must appear. It says, okay. Well, they didn't appear.
Okay, so the option is for P6, the applicant, the ish, to just hold this until next month, until the
We
July
are-
meeting.
We already approved P6.
No, we didn't.
Didn't
No,
we?
we didn't.
I know I made a motion and Brant seconded it.
And there was discussion on the
Oh,
motion.
we never had a vote. Okay.
We didn't vote.
Right.
I mean, I take the opportunity to look at this in both ways. Either their input is important enough to be here, or we strike it and we never have it again. And I hate it to come down to that, but if we feel they're required to be here, well, then they're not here. And they definitely knew they signed it. So to me, that's where I'm torn. It's policy.
Yeah, I agree partially with that. And the only thing because there are certain things where we absolutely need them here, but what's swaying me the other way of going with the approvals the way they are now for the ones that aren't here is because they're thoroughly vetted by the state before they even get to us with this, with their state registration.
All right, so maybe we should revisit this and just remove that then, Mr. Hanley. I agree with you. If as long as that's the case, I maybe our requirement is antiquated.
It's almost like it's the rubber stamp, Joe, once the state does all their approvals.
Okay.
We're just kind of just granting the permit. I mean, kind of think of it as, and I can't remember the last time we had one come before us, the private investigators. They go through all of their state ramifications and then we just kind of say approved or disapproved. That's the way I look at it, so.
Okay.
yeah.
I just don't want to have a document that we have in front of us that says something. It makes us look foolish.
Councilman Hacker?
I agree with Joe on this. If they don't have to appear, then that language shouldn't be there. He's absolutely right on this. So we should strike it. Because we have no opportunity to even discuss anything with these people, you know, it'd be nice if we could actually talk to them for a few minutes, you know. I know it is a rubber stamp, as Councilman Kalenda points out, but you know, it would be nice to have a conversation. But if we're not going to require them to be before us, then why have that language here? I agree.
Carrie, can I ask a quick question, please?
You may.
Is the form that the clerk's office is disseminating for all these applicants, is it the same form that says you have to appear? Is that the
Yes,
same
we've
form?
already covered that. There is at the bottom of the application, it says you must appear at the date, it's 6/8/2021 town council meeting for approval, and they initial it. I am aware that I must attend the above council meeting, applicant's initials right there. So we do have the applicant's initials on these, on P6 and P7, neither of whom are here with us tonight. Are we able to, does this needs to be an agenda item for next month to strike that language from the application, or can this be done administratively?
It can be done administratively.
Alrighty, so I would suggest that we go ahead and approve P6. And then we can introduce P7 and more than likely go the same route.
Motion to approve all three. P6.
So-
I'll second that.
Put them together if it's a rubber stamp.
P6, P7, and P9.
Harry, can I say something?
You may.
Only the new ones, the new ones that need to be on the council after this, they can be approved by the department heads. So all the other ones that we've already have, I just put through the department heads. These are all brand new ones that should come to the town council. They should the first time. I mean, we've always done it that way. And if you want to change that, I would feel better that it comes to you the first time, like everything else. There are other people on the agenda that are here. And like Joe is saying, you know, if you come, I mean, the first time it's on there. They've signed it. We've sent them the invite. We've sent them the agenda. It's all been done yesterday. It was done Friday. It was done yesterday. There was a phone call done again today, I believe. I don't know how much more, you know, we can do this, but it's up to you.
All right, well, with that information, as we did on the last agenda item, I have changed my opinion. So it is my opinion that I would prefer to set aside until next month any applicants who have enjoyed the extra attention given from our clerk's office with reminders and initials and phone calls and follow-up emails. So in that case, P6 and P7 can be pulled for next month. We still have further petitions to review, and I believe the rest of these folks are here.
Madam President,
Yes,
did we have a motion in a second to approve these?
we did.
Right, so we take a vote.
So the, what is the proper way to rescind the
I
the
rescind
motion
my
in the second?
motion. I rescind my motion. I was the maker of the motion. I can rescind it. And there it is.
The second has to be rescinded too.
I don't remember who seconded it.
In the flurry of things,
I think Councilman Kalenda seconded the motion. I believe so.
Councilman Kalenda, will you rescind your second?
Unfortunately, I'm struggling with this, and I am not going to rescind my second, and I'm going to tell you why. I really don't believe these applications are flawed because the individual is not here. The permitting process, the approval process is all from the state. So I am not going to rescind my second.
So we need to vote.
You need to vote, but of course, the mover is not bound by the original motion.
My motion's rescinded.
And so do we hold the vote?
Take the vote.
Okay, so on P6, all in favor?
The motion was for all three.
Correct.
So it's for P6, P7,
And
and
P9.
and P9. P9 is here this evening. So those applicants for Plouffe Quality Catering and Food Truck are actually here to appear. So again, I think it is unfair to them who are here to be lumped in on this vote should it fail. Because I'm not in favor of painting them with the same brush. So Councilman Di Pasquale has rescinded his motion. Councilman Kalenda, as his right to do, is not in favor of rescinding. So what's the next step?
A motion to amend.
I make a motion to amend and I move P9 applicant be heard.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second or we have a rescinded motion on approving P6 and P7. All in favor?
Wait, Ms. Cronin.
Yes.
It says Happy Place Creepery, oh, I'm sure I said that wrong, is present.
We are right now dealing with the two applicants who are not present, and
I mean,
my
is that one of them who's not present?
No, that's P12.
Sorry.
That's P12, yes. So we are looking at P6, which is the ish, and P7, which is super duper food sales.
I stand by our employees. The clerks do their job. They do it well. It's our document. It says they're supposed to be here. That's it. I don't need more discussion on it.
So these applications, there is a rescinded motion, there is a second. We still need to vote on whether to pass these. Am I correct?
Yes.
Nay.
We'll roll call this. Councilman Heckert?
Nay.
Mr. Hanley?
I believe I'm voting to change the motion, correct?
There was a motion to amend to segment out.
Yeah, no.
P9.
All right, so if I vote nay, that means we don't amend the motion.
Oh, I'm sorry. We are voting on the amended motion. So there is a motion to amend removing P9 from the original motion. So we need to vote on that. So all in favor of amending the original motion that would put P6, P7, and P9 all together. This would remove P9. So all in favor of doing that? Aye. So we have our vote, Councilman Hanley?
I'm opposed to amending it.
Ms. Cronin, for clarity's sake, what exactly is it that we're voting on? Because I am starting to get comically confused and I don't want it to be a funny matter. This is a serious matter. The clerks have this document. We've created this policy in the past because of exactly these reasons.
Exactly. So you had made the original motion. Councilman Kalenda had seconded it to have P6, P7, and P9 all voted on together. You rescinded your motion, which Councilman Kalenda opted not to rescind the second. You have now further amended your motion to remove P9. Now, we don't need to vote on the Councilman Di Pasquale's rescinding of his original motion because the second wasn't rescinded, correct?
The motion pending on the floor right now is the motion to amend this to separate P9. So that's in order for a vote now.
Okay, so there is a motion on the floor to amend the original motion to remove P9. P9 is here in the House with us appearing. P6 and P7 are not. So all of those in favor of amending the original motion so that we only will be focusing on P6 and P7. So Councilman Di Pasquale is aye. Councilman Heckert?
Aye.
Councilman Hanley?
Nay.
And Councilman Kalenda?
Nay.
Okay, I vote aye. So we now have P6 and P7 are to be addressed separately from P9. So now, do we have a motion to approve these two applicants for their mobile food establishment permits, P6 and P7?
I will motion that we continue P6 and P7 until next month's meeting because the applicants aren't in front of us.
Second.
So we have a motion and a second to continue P6 and P7 to the July meeting. Roll call, Councilman Di Pasquale.
Madam President, can I ask a quick question, please?
You may, Councilman Kalenda, you've been recognized.
Thank you. For P6 and P7, when were they looking to start?
There is no date that is specific to these applications. They merely want the permit to be able to do business in the town of Warren as events happen, as they are invited to do so. They can't just pull up to a parking lot and start selling their food. They would be invited to participate in any number of food events or whatever. So this just says that.
Yep, yeah,
that they're
good. So,
approved.
all right, thank you. I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you, but the unfortunate part is that they will not capture that 4th of July weekend because we're not going to come back into session until after the 4th of July weekend. And, it's unfortunate that most likely these two applications are not going to be heard until July. And we're penalizing them on a technicality, which we've all admitted is a technicality, regardless if the document says it or not. So I feel that it's just unfair. We should approve these two applications and let them go forward. But thank you.
Okay.
Can I make a comment for the public
You may.
on this issue? Because it's not necessarily a technicality. The document they sign states that they need to be in front of the council. The clerks send out a prior meeting invitation, day before an invitation, and they weren't here. So before Miss Speroni spoke about those aspects, I was entertaining the thought and discussion that this was maybe just the technicality. But when she's refreshed my memory that this is our only opportunity to take a look at these business providers, regardless of their state approval, it's our only opportunity. After that, then they're rubber stamped and the state goes into effect, the state approvals. So I do feel, although it may be slightly superficial, meeting these people who want to do business in the town of Warren has value. We represent the town of Warren. I don't know who these people are. So that being said, I feel bad that they ignored a mandatory request at the bottom and ignored and didn't respond to our two requests, invitations. So I just want it to be on the record that this is not an unfair situation. I feel.
Madam President, if I could respond, please. And this will be my last response.
You may,
Joe,
Councilman.
thank you. Joe, you're correct, but it also doesn't state on the bottom of the document that if you do not appear, your application won't be heard. It just says that you have to appear. It does not say, if you don't appear, your application's not going to be heard, or it could be delayed, or could be rejected. So if we're going to talk about the letter of the law, we have to talk about the entire letter of the law.
Mr. Kalenda, it
Thank you.
states for approval.
Thank
So
you.
yes, you're actually in a little bit of an error because it does say for approval. It's right there.
Yes.
But it doesn't say it won't be approved if you don't appear.
Okay,
Doesn't say it
I
all.
agree. My position's not going to change. Thank you.
Okay, and let's get this to a vote, but I would like to share some information that just came to me, is that the Director of Parks and Rec, Tara, keeps track of all the mobile food establishment permits approved by the council. And so whoever is approved is who she contacts for events. So, you know, there is a policy and a procedure that has been now in place for well over a year. And I think that, you know, we owe our support to the process that we have not failed on. And it maybe seems a bit unfair leading up to the 4th of July, but I am comfortable saying that these two applicants won't be heard until the July 8th meeting, and they will have their approval then. I'm quite certain of it. And I'm guessing that they probably have permits out in other communities. The town of Warren can't be the only community that they are driving their food trucks to. So unfortunately, they won't be serving their goods in the town of Warren should this not pass, should we not approve their permits. They won't be approved to serve food in the town of Warren until after our July 8th meeting. So we have a motion and a second to approve these two permits. Councilman De Pasquale?
What are you asking me for a vote?
You voted nay, I believe, just
Yeah.
to confirm. Okay, Councilman Heckert,
Nay.
Councilman Hanley,
Aye.
Councilman Kalenda.
I vote aye to approve.
Okay, and I vote nay. So these two applicants will be seen and hopefully, or heard and hopefully seen on the July 8th meeting. Next is P8, which is a request for a yearly entertainment license from D Golf Center. This is Jeffrey Dantes, 326 Market Street. Entertainment for 1 to 2 person acoustic Fridays from 2 p.m. to 8 p.m. So is Mr. Dantes with us? Let's hope.
Unfortunately, I do not see him on the meeting at the moment.
Well, did he sign the same?
No.
Oh, this is a yearly entertainment license. Okay, so this is not the same type of thing as prior. So Mr. Dantes has opened the golf center out on Market Street. And he would like to have entertainment on Fridays from 2 to 8. Any discussion here?
I'm not sure that he's the owner of the property. Mr. Monty is the owner of the property. I think he might just be a proprietor of one of the businesses on the site, so. I would
Okay,
suggest you continue it as well.
I would suggest that as well. Councilman Hecker, did you have a comment?
Only that, you know, without being able to talk to this applicant about the specific music, I mean, he writes acoustic, but, you know, I mean, we need to get into that a little further, so we don't have that opportunity.
All righty. Do we have a motion to continue this to the July 8th meeting?
So moved.
We have a second.
I'll second it. I was ready to approve it anyway. I was ready to approve it, but I'll second it. I don't want him to lose his space in line.
All right, we have a motion and a second to continue P8 to the July 8th meeting. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. P9, this is the request for a mobile food establishment permit from Plouf's Quality Catering Food Truck Robert R. Plouffe and Kara Janess from 267 Main Street in Pawtucket, Rhode Island. Are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Hi, thank you so much.
Don't harass me. I'm the only one who showed up, so nobody beat me up.
Not even. Thank you for appearing. You have, I'm curious, there is another food truck, I thought, that had the same name, or is that you, or is that somebody else? Isn't there a Plouffe?
No, that's the Plouffe, and that's out of Tiverton. Totally different truck.
What type of food do you serve?
I'm all American. So I'm hot dogs, hamburgers, chili, sausage and peppers, pulled pork, chicken tenders, chicken wings, French fries, chili cheese, all American.
All righty. Any questions from the council?
I appreciate your attendance.
Thank you.
I do have
Councilman
a
Hecker?
question.
Yep.
Hi, good evening. Thank you for attending. Nice to see you. How long have you been in business?
Our restaurant is stationed in Pawtucket, Rhode Island. We've been in business for 14 years. My co-partner and co-owner is Mr. Plouffe, who's the original meat pie manufacturer. His family dates back to 1904, and he's a staple in Central Falls, Cumberland, and Lincoln area. And I've been with him for the past 6 years, and I run the food trucks and I run the restaurant. So we've been, yes, with my daughter. My daughter's over here. She's actually cooking dinner, and she's saying, with my daughter, I help out. So we go all over. We do a lot of catering. We're actually registered to do business in a lot of different cities. And no other city that I do business in have I ever had to join a city council meeting for approval. So this is a first for me.
Wow.
There's no town ordinances that make us join a town council meeting for approval. So this is different, but I don't mind because I'm actually a resident in Warren. I live here. So I don't mind.
Well, we've learned a lot probably in these past 20 or so minutes of going through this process, and that useful information may impact how we do this in the future. So appreciate you sharing that. That is quite helpful. So are there any further questions? If not, do we have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? The ayes have it. You are permitted to have your food truck considered for events in the town of Warren. Thank you so much.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. All righty. Next, we have a request for a Class F beverage license. This is from the Collaborative, represented by Uriah Donnelly. The event is October 17th. From 2 to 6 p.m. at Freerish Farm, and the event is Folk on the Farm. Is Mr. Donnelly here with us? And I would ask that we consider P11 at the same time because it's also from him. There he is, Mr. Donnelly. Nice to see you again. Tell us about this event. You are looking for a Class F beverage license and a one-day entertainment license.
Correct. Yes, we our other concert series had received some grant money from a local donor, and that since we weren't interested in continuing with that, that person suggested we reach out to Dave Ferrich to see if he'd be interested in doing some sort of music event on the farm, and so he's into it, and so we're going to try and do in mid-October the one-day music and some food and some beer and a small amount of beer, and yeah, I think everybody is on our end is on board with it. So
motion to approve.
Joe, you're doing them both at the same time?
Correct. Thank you, Mr. Hanley. What is it?
10 and 12. 10 and 12.
10 and
No,
12.
it's
10 and
10
11.
is the 11.
10 and 11.
Yes.
I'll second
10
that.
11.
motion.
All right, we have a motion from Councilman Di Pasquale and a second from VP Hanley in support of a Class F beverage license and a one-day entertainment license for the collaborative for an October 17th event at Free Rish Farm. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any
Aye.
opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you so much, and thank you for being so proactive and timely about this. It's far off, but something to look forward to.
Thank you. Thank everybody.
All righty, next we have P12. This is a request for a vittling license. This is contingent upon zoning board approval from the Happy Place World LLC. This is for 438 Main Street. Are the applicants with us? We're looking for Ivana Mesulam Janjic.
Madam President, he's here.
Okay,
Just needs to unmute himself.
All right. Now you see me, hear me? Here we go. Hi.
hello.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Hello.
So you are
Thank you for the
Ivana.
opportunity to see me.
Great. So you are Ivana or Yvonne?
I am, Ivana is my wife. She's the
Oh.
owner of the company. And I am the managing director of the company. Sounds all official, but we are a family business. She's registered as the owner of the business, but I will be working on it.
Very good. And I'm sorry, what is your name?
My name is Alexander.
I see it. It's right there. Alexander, I apologize. So tell us about what you're going to be doing at 438 Main Street and how far along you are.
So this is the creperie. Crepes are traditional French, kind of like American pancakes, but thin. We'll be doing, that is the only warm item on the menu. There will be salads, coffees, drinks, soft beverages, some ready-to-go food. Then anything that is warm will be from the plate, the crepes, sweet, savory, some cakes that we build with just layering bunch of crepes on top of each other. And space is really, I'm working on it right now. You want to see it? It is, it's going to be a very colorful, lovely, lively spot here in town on the main street. It is a main and child corner. There is a juice bar and then us, and then there is a bar next to us. So I think it would be a great addition for the main street that will be here working, hopefully.
We know the spot well. I think we've all passed by it once or twice. Will this be your first business venture?
This is actually my very first venture on my own. I've been in the restaurant business for 20 years. I've been managing restaurants for 15 years. Last 10 years, I've been doing fine dining management for other restaurants and companies here in States, Puerto Rico, Europe. So I have a big experience, but this is the first thing that I'm doing on my own for us.
Great. Do any members of the council have questions for Alexander?
Make a motion, we approve the vitrilling license pending contingent on zoning board approval.
A second.
Great. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any
Good luck,
opposed?
Alexander.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much and good luck to you. And we look forward to seeing your business on Main Street.
Same here. Looking forward to see you all.
All righty.
Thank you.
And finally, P13, this is a request for outdoor seating from SD and JR LLC. It's doing business as Hunky Dory at 40 Market Street. Is Joanna? Yes, I see Joanna. Glad to see you.
Yep.
Hello there.
Hello.
Hi. So these are the two tables that flank the front door of your restaurant, formerly Eli's, that had been approved by the council in the past. So this is not a new thing. This is just a rubber stamp. That phrase is used a few times this evening for those previously approved tables.
Right, correct.
Okay,
Motion to
Um,
approve.
Second.
so we have a motion and a second, and the site plan is, just to be clear, in red, to be reviewed with building official, police department, and fire chief. The same as Eli's. Has that happened yet? Do we know?
Yes, it has.
Okay, so we're good to go. So motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, the ayes have it. Thank you so much.
Great, thank you.
Aye.
Bye.
All righty, moving along. Next, we have correspondence. There are 17 items in correspondence. Is there anything that any member of the council would like to pull for discussion, attention?
I think C14, we should send a letter, saying thank you for your service to the Warren Housing Authority, to Deborah Oliveira.
Thank you, Brent. Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. And I would like to pull C16. There's a letter from George Sylvia regarding a violation and ordinance change. This has to do with a parking issue, and it would be my recommendation to refer this to the traffic advisory group.
So moved.
Second.
On both.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Yep.
Any opposed? Nay. All right, or none. All right. Next, we have old business.
Madam President?
Yes.
The noise ordinance is not a traffic advisory group. That requires an ordinance amendment, which requires a few more steps than that the council can just unilaterally address. So I would suggest that you refer that to my office. I will contact Ms. Fenton and tell her what the proper steps are for an ordinance amendment.
Okay, thank you. Do we have a motion to refer C17 to the planner's office to share the proper process for any kind of ordinance change?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Old business. So OB1 is a report of traffic advisory group. I believe that Planner Rulli can share with us what has happened so far.
So there was a petition from Jay McDougall for permit parking in the Hale Campbell area. We have formed a parking study management group. The traffic advisory group has referred this application to the parking study management group. It's the appropriate venue to consider parking issues townwide.
Okay, so at this time, there has been no specific recommendation for the request from Ms. McDougall. That will be addressed.
Recommendation is that the parking study management group should address it. They're the more appropriate group. They're looking at parking in the downtown area townwide. This would be the appropriate venue.
Okay, and that the formation of that study group is under planning. So,
Correct, and I can address that further later.
very good. So any other questions on this item? Hearing none. OB2, discussion and action regarding fee schedule policies for transfer station and solid waste recycling and yard waste. We all received a memo from Manager Michaud, who I think can talk about where we're at with this this issue in regard to our trash and recycling. Ms. Michaud.
Yes, thank you. And apologies for getting some late information out to you on this topic. At the last meeting, you'll remember that the council members had asked for some more detail and some more information before making any decisions as to the policies for fiscal year 2022. So first, I want to share the good news, which is that we did have a decrease in May 2021 in overall curbside trash volume. We had a 9.5% decrease, which is the first decrease we've seen since the pandemic began in March of 2020. So that's some really good news that I just wanted to share with everybody. Unfortunately, while that's good news, we are still significantly over budget as far as tipping fees for the current fiscal year, which directly relates to being over on our tonnage by quite a bit. So our overspend on that is estimated at this point, and again, we'll be coming back at the end of this month with the more precise numbers, but at this point, we're estimating that we're about $67,000 over on the tipping fees, which represents about 837.5 tons of waste, more than we were anticipating. So again, my concern is that overage, and my concern is that with the fees going up next year and the following year, that we're going to have a bigger problem unless we're able to cut down on the volume of that trash. And I just wanted to say that it's not the intention to harm the residents or to increase the revenues at the transfer station. Really, the intention is to reduce the volume of trash so that we're not so reliant on the landfill and that we're not so deeply impacted when they decide to change their rates, which I expect that they will be doing on a regular basis. So just to clarify the recommendation, and obviously this is all up for discussion, and it is ultimately up to the council to decide what you feel is best for the town. The recommendation, after speaking with our staff accountant and with the director of public works, is that we would recommend that the charge for the transfer station stickers is eliminated. That charge currently is $20. We could eliminate that charge. The yard waste, currently we include that in the 800-pound cap. The recommendation is to get rid of that 800-pound cap and instead just to require that residents bag their yard waste and limit them to 6 bags per day. So there would still be the curbside pickup, just like we do right now for the larger brush items and for however many bags they want to park curbside, but people who are dropping off at the transfer station, we would limit it to 6 bags per day. They could return as frequently as they need to. The transfer station trash, again, as I said at the last meeting, the recommendation is that we eliminate that free 800 pounds of trash that had been coming with the resident stickers. One thing that the director of public works had suggested is that we could offer an amnesty day or a residents only trash day, a spring cleaning clean out day. Possibly on a Saturday, we could have extended hours and we could allow town residents with their stickers to come and dispose of trash for free on that limited basis. The charges for the transfer station, the recommendation based on the data is if we decide to go with the plan that is being proposed, we could do a split rate and we could hold the residential rate at $185 a ton and then increase that commercial rate to $205 a ton to better reflect the increases that we're expecting from Rhode Island Resource Recovery. And then the curbside trash and recycling, there's no changes that are proposed or recommended. So that's a summary of where I am. I gave you kind of a lot of charts and reports that were generated by DPW. Mr. Hanley, I know, had some questions about breaking out those free charges, the volume of free trash that we see at the transfer station. Unfortunately, the reports don't break out that free tonnage, but we do have a log report from the transfer station. And for the year to date, the estimate for the free trash was about 242 tons. So just over 242 tons of that free trash that had been dumped year to date. On the reports that you have, that's included in the commercial trash tonnage, which includes all the free trash plus the paid trash that comes to the transfer station. So I believe Mr. Malik is also on the line and available to answer questions as well, if the council needs clarification or has questions.
Councilman Hanley, go ahead.
Yeah, I emailed Kate for some of the information and she was able to pull out the numbers she gave me. And I did my math and I hope it's right. But so she came out with 241 tons. That was the actual free stuff. And if we pay $150 per ton to dump it, That means it cost the town $36,361 to get rid of that trash. We sold 812 stickers, which brought in about $16,000. So literally, it only cost us $20,000 to offer that service to our residents. Now, her theory is great, but it's in theory. If they don't, if just because we're not letting them dump it for free, where do you think that trash is going to go? It's still going to come to the transfer station. We're just going to charge them for it. So it's not going to knock us down on our limits. And I think for $20,000 a year, and I'm hoping my math is right, for $20,000 a year, this is a service that people like and people use. And breaking down the math, out of 812 stickers at 240 tons, they average like 593 pounds per sticker. For the $20,000 it's costing us, and the fact that the trash is still going to end up at the transfer station, it's not like they're just going to leave it in their yard, or, well, God forbid, they just throw it off the truck on the way to on the side street. It's not going to lower the amount that comes into the transfer station by eliminating stickers. It's just not. It's just going to go in and they're going to pay for it. And for that $20,000 figure, I think that's short money to give the residents a service that they deserve.
Thank you. That's appreciate your analysis, and having heard Manager Michaud's analysis and theory, it's a way. Yeah, you have to kind of see where the scales tip. I would appreciate hearing. Couldn't resist. I appreciate hearing from Mr. Malik on his sort of opinion and perspective on how these two theories sort of match up.
Well, listen to Mr. Hanley, speak and stuff like that. I understand what he's saying. The trash is going to end up at the station, but it's going to be paid for. Out of those stickers, we have 800 citizens in the town of Warren using these stickers. So I'm going to ask John very easily, if that's the way you're going to look at it, or Councilman Hanley, then let me pay less taxes in my house than my neighbor does over here. I mean, my side of the house that might use the transfer station. I mean, this is being fair to everybody, plus people that live outside this community that own houses in Warren. I know all you council people have got calls. Why can't I dump my trash there? I pay taxes to the town of Warren. Or get the free like other residents do. I mean, we're trying to make this as easy as we can for everybody here that uses that transfer station, because not the whole community uses the Warren transfer station.
Councilman Hanley or BP
But
Hanley?
Mr. Malik, just because your house didn't burn down this year doesn't mean we're going to lower your taxes because you didn't use the fire department.
No, I understand that, John. No, you're correct. But what happens with the stickers, people out there in this town are subsidizing other people for their free dump. So that's why this council, I think, went to the black barrels. What's in the barrels gets picked up at the house, not like it was before, where people could just put all their trash out there, and some people could put more trash out than others. Now, everybody's on the same playing field in this great town of Warren, that whatever you have for trash, you have to put in that barrel. So that's all it is. It's putting everybody on an even playing field here. And down the road, I know I've been listening to this problem. The last two council meetings it was brought up. It's going to be a major problem. I don't know if you're going to want to address it this year, but eventually down the road, if you're all on the council, you're going to have to address this issue. And plus, the town manager just told you before, no other community has given anybody any free dump days at their landfills. The town is obligated to pick up trash at your house. One barrel. That's the way it's set up in the town. So, I mean, because we've been doing it for years, doesn't make it right. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Malik. Councilman Hecker?
Thank you, Madam President. This is a real tough one, and I know there's a lot of people in town that really love going to the dump, but as Mr. Malik says, it's, you know, it shouldn't be considered a freebie. I know the last time we discussed this, Councilman Kalenda mentioned maybe a phase out. I can almost see that, sort of a phase out. I mean, the Amnesty Day thing, I'm not sure if that's enough of a bone to satisfy people. And, you know, there's some complications with that, because what are you going to do? Let everybody come in with as much trash as they want on that one day? Are you going to limit the poundage? Or if somebody comes up with a semi truck full of trash, I don't know, I'm exaggerating, but so I see the Amnesty Day is problematic. You know, maybe a phase out might be more palatable. And I'm not sure exactly what that looks like, but that's.
If I could.
Yeah. Councilman Di Pasquale, yeah.
I think that this should not be looked at as a political football. This is going to give some people a good feeling about a council member or a bad feeling about a council member. I'm here to do the right thing. I'm not going to kick the trash can down the road. We're kicking the can down the road. The reality is change has come, it's coming, and I feel confident in my own actions to set the stage for the future. I don't want to just necessarily move something to the side just because it's a feel-good issue to some people. I know what's going to happen. I should say, I don't know what's going to happen to the state's trash issues. I do know in less than 20 years, trash as we know it is going to change. And the phase out has to start with us, at least with me. This councilman's ready to listen to the dollars and cents issues that Ms. Michoud is putting in front of us, as well as the environmental responsibility to reduce our trash. And the sad reality is $20,000, as you look at it, John, maybe the simple cost, but the big picture is people need to adjust how they're dealing with trash, and we have to start addressing it as a team together. And this is the first step, in my opinion. Thank you.
Madam President, may I be heard?
You may, yes.
Thank you. So I'm going to reiterate on my, original point that I made at our last meeting. If we're going to move forward, and I agree with Joe, we do need to address how we're going to deal with our waste removal. I think the best course of action, and it might be my only opinion, is to do it in a phase-out portion way, and over time, we phase it out. And like our Public Works Director has said, we'll have everybody on the same playing field. And I do agree with that. I think that's where we need to get everybody. However, and I mentioned this to Jan when I was speaking to him about it, I may be one of the few individuals in the town. I chose to use the smaller receptacle when it comes to my waste. I didn't need the 90. I went with, I think, the 65. I'll probably be going back to get the 90. So with that said, I see we use this as a phase out. But thank you. That's all I have.
Thank you, everybody. I have a question. So the first part of your recommendation is that there will be no charge for the resident stickers. Previously, they were $20. Whether we go with that or not, how does that impact the resident stickers and the parking at the beach?
So those stickers would have to be separate, because the beach stickers are $10 or free for seniors and veterans.
Okay, and so removing the $20 sticker fee, a resident would still have to go to the DPW, prove their residency, and get the sticker for that year of use. And should a phase out plan be considered, how would that fit into your or maybe Councilman Heckert or Councilman Kalenda could answer that question. How would a phase out sort of fit into the proposal that we have before us? Not saying that's something that I am looking to do. I'm more of a mind to support moving forward in a more aggressive way, because I think we do have a looming problem that we're going to have to get pretty tough on.
Can I introduce one idea? Imagine if Mr. Malik made the recommendation to not be picking up yard waste for free. As is now, he's doing the best he can to control and account for the amount of green waste that's going in. That's the first aspect of looking towards the future. If you bag it, we're still going to be paying for this service, and we're actually going to be supplying the service. I understand the contrary thinking where if you have people bringing it to the town yard, why do they have to pay? Because this, unfortunately, is the first step of a major reduction in how we do business. We have to start making the changes. The only way to eat an elephant is one bite at a time. If we don't make the changes now, that elephant's just going to sit on us.
Thank you.
Councilman Heckert, sorry.
I get it. I do think the phase out might be more palatable, and how is that going to work? Maybe reduce it by half the first year, and then by the second year it's eliminated. But at least people would get that understanding that yes, this is going away, but we're not pulling the rug out from under you completely the first year. So I don't know. That would be my suggestion.
So again, what are you proposing for a phase out? Right now, the proposal from the manager is that we've removed the sticker charge and we've removed the 800-pound cap. So would we do would we have a 400-pound cap with no fee for the trash? Disposal of the transfer station? No.
Reduce by half what we're allowing right now, and then I don't know. Maybe Councilman Kalenda has another idea on that, but I think that would be a phase that I could live with. By the second year, it would be eliminated. So.
Can I ask a question? Mr. Hanley, you mentioned, or Ms. Mishu, that the average amount was like 509 pounds. Did I hear that?
Yeah, by my math, I came up with the amount of tonnage that Kate told me was the free stuff and the number of stickers. It came out to like 593 pounds per sticker.
All right, well then, 400 it's the beginning of the reality of the future.
May I say something to that?
Yeah.
At 185, at 185 a ton, to just let you people know, that's 9 cents a pound. If you lower it to 400 pounds, which I heard, that will be a $37 savings to the community. If you keep the stickers at $0. If you charge $10 for the sticker, that makes the only savings there at the 400 pounds. And what we charge other people, the 185, it would only be $27 at $10 a sticker. If we charge them $20 like we have, that's only a $17 savings for the people. Is it really worth it to the people? I can't say it is or isn't. That's why you people are council. So I just wanted to put that in perspective when you start lowering numbers, where the savings are for the taxpayer, and it really isn't much when you start lowering it down more and more to this the cost factor for them.
Ms. Cronin, since I brought that, Mr. Malik, I appreciate those numbers. What I'm trying to work on now is an implementation strategy, not necessarily the finances, because everything that I'm speaking about, I'm talking about changing out completely in 2 years. So if we have some measure of reduction in this program, a phase out, remember that I'm advocating ultimately for the end result. So that, just so everybody, I hope we're all thinking that same process here, I'm kind of a believer of pull off the Band-Aid because it's going to hurt if I do it slowly. But if people want to look at it that way, I want something positive, not something helter-skelter.
So we have the conversation here where we could approve the manager's recommendation, which would make free your resident sticker, or the option is to have the resident sticker be $10. So keep some fee attached to that. Then it could be combined with the parking sticker. Unless we want to keep that completely separate and have that still be a $10, then the resident has paid their $20. There's no real difference there, just the revenue will go one place and the other. And then either have the 800-pound cap removed, or we could have a 400-pound cap for the first year with a goal of no cap in the future and just pay to play. And no change to the no fee for trash disposal, no free trash disposal at the transfer station. And the amnesty day, I would agree, is, I don't know how that really, I'm not really in favor of that. I think that could just be a really difficult event to manage, extended hours, extended staff, and, a line down the block of people wanting to dump everything. That seems a little extreme. So is anybody willing to take a stab at a next
Madam
step?
President, Madam
Yep.
President, I'd like to make a motion. My motion will be to, over the course of 2 years, starting July 1st, 2020, that we reduce the 800-pound allowance.
2021?
I'm sorry, 2021. Thank you. Let me start again. I'd like to make my motion to reduce the allowance of 800 pounds starting at 2021 to 600 pounds. Then from 2021 to 2022, going to 400 pounds, capping it at 400 pounds, eliminating the allowance and having it phased out over a 2-year period. With the sticker price staying at $20.
Okay, so you're saying that starting in July of 2021, the cap would be 600 pounds. July of 22 would be 400 pounds. July of 23, no.
Correct.
No
There would be
cap.
no more allowance. We would phase it out in July of 2023.
Okay. And that would, and keep the $20 sticker.
Correct.
Keep 20 sticker. And does your motion include yes or no to an amnesty day?
I am not going to address the amnesty day at this time. But if somebody wants to amend or add, I'm open to the discussion.
I have a question. Steve, how would you think you want to handle the green stuff? Whoop, where did I just shut myself off? Hang on.
No, I can hear you. I'm trying to think back. What are they're counting that into your poundage right now. Like if you show up with leaves, they'll pick it up at your street for free, but if you show up with it, they're taking it off your number. I would say it continues.
Okay. I'll second that motion.
Okay.
The discussion.
So, yes, please.
Mr. Kalenda, shouldn't we just adjust the math so that instead of it going from 400 to 0, we do a different incrementation? I mean, I don't know. It just seems if we're going to phase it,
So I'm thinking ahead that next year is an election year and we could be back here doing this all over again if the council members change. That my term doesn't expire until 24, so I was trying to keep it within the time frame of certain members. Brant and I are sitting here until 24. I'm trying not to address this again in 23. That's the way I did it. But I'm open to, if you want to adjust, that's fine.
Well, I appreciate your forwardness because I stated specifically it shouldn't be a political football. We shouldn't be looking at this as an issue of voter, 600 people, how they're going to vote for us if we do this or not. So that's why I'm actually looking at this as an issue that shouldn't impact any future council. This should be a decision that we stand behind our administrator with her guidance. So again, I don't know, those numbers seemed a little bit.
And we're standing behind it, but I think we also have to listen to the folks that have reached out to us. I spent a considerable amount of time listening to folks that wanted to continue this because they felt the price tag was just the cost of doing business. I do hear that, but I also do understand, like you've mentioned many times, Joe, 20 to 38 for landfills closing. We have to deal with this now. So this is my recommendation. The best course of action is phasing it out like this. And we do it in a 2.5 year period.
My original question simply, Steve, was about the looking at the impact. Instead of going at the 400 to nothing, if we did it by thirds, it would be actually a little bit more that last year. I mean,
sure, but wouldn't we be dragging it out though, right through 23 into 24?
Well, I look at it as a 2-year phase out. So the same thing, instead of doing 200, so 200 reduction would be 6. Then the 200 reduction would be 4. Then you're just saying get rid of it. I was just looking at it, split it in half. I appreciate your effort. I was just looking at the math, that's all.
No, I understand. I'm looking at it as 800 to 600 is a little easier for somebody to swallow if they still have to do some spring cleaning coming, the end of this calendar year into the beginning of 22. And then they'll know that the 400 pounds is what they're going to live with, and that's it, it's over.
So we have a motion and a second for keeping the resident sticker price at $20. And in 2021, reducing the amount of the cap to 600, phase out in 22 to 400, and in 2023 to 0. No, not addressing the amnesty day. So we have a motion and a second. Are there any other motions to be considered? Hearing none. Well, let's roll call on this vote. So Councilman Kalenda.
Aye.
Councilman Hanley.
Aye.
Councilman Di Pasquale.
Aye.
Councilman Heckert.
Aye.
And I vote nay. I would prefer being a little more aggressive with this, but I support this as this is what the council wants to do. So we have adjusted the terms. Now we can talk about it. Does anybody want to have a motion or not to do an amnesty day?
I have no flavor for that. I can just see a chaos out there on that day.
If I may just add, if we're not eliminating the cap, I would not recommend consideration of an amnesty day. I don't think it's necessary. The schedule that's been adopted.
Right.
I second that.
I figured you would. All right.
Hey,
Is there
also? Hey, can I just say this? We just went through an Eco Depot there with 360 residents from across Rhode Island that went through our place Saturday. So I mean, for everybody to say chaos, listen, you set the rules, you set your ground rules, You tell them this is the way it is, and that's the way it goes. I mean, it's cut and dry. It's an easy game to play. You just make the rules up. It seems like you people are afraid to set the rules. So, I mean, on an AMC day, this is what it is. One car, one this, that's all you can bring with a sticker. Cut and dry if you wanted to go that route.
All right. Well, we've discussed it and voted on it for now, and we can always revisit.
Can I just ask for clarification on the leaf and yard waste? I do believe that you said you want to leave the leaf and yard waste as existing, which would mean that it still counts within the cap. Am I correct in that?
Yes.
I would say yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
And the rates as well. Is there any discussion on the rates that were proposed?
So residential at 185 a ton and commercial at 205?
Correct. That was the proposal.
Yeah, my motion
Okay.
didn't include any rate change, or reduction, or increase.
All right, I make a motion to support the rates as recommended.
I'll second that.
Yep.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it. All right, so have we have done all we need to do on this OB2, right? Yes, OB2. So that brings us to OB3. Discussion and action regarding the extension and/or amendment of the town's limited declaration of emergency. Solicitor DeSisto, it's always nice to hear your opinion here, and the governor still has not made, lifted or lowered or made any sort of declaration about the how our food-based businesses can operate. Is that correct?
No, he has not, but the General Assembly, there is a bill moving along on this subject by Representative McEntee. It's cleared the House, not the Senate. And, you know, that's the only reason that I would recommend that you enact this one more time, because that bill has not passed yet. And if it does pass the General Assembly, then it has to go to the governor for a signature, and that's contingent on a couple of steps. And I don't expect it to happen in the next week or so, if at all. So I think it's appropriate for your restaurants that have made this investment because of the COVID thing. Emergency is still in effect.
And was that bill amended to address the noise issues?
I thought so. You know, Kate can address that too, because, you know, I know the League of Cities and Towns had some comments on the bill. It was amended before it passed out of the House. You know, I took a look at it, and it's a lot better than the original version on it. So that's what you're looking at.
I would also like to note that Rep. Speakman and Rep. Knight both spoke to the bill sponsor based on the council's discussion at previous meetings. That discussion was related to both the reps, and they did speak to Rep. McEntee, and there was an amendment to that bill on the floor before it was voted on. So it's my understanding from reading the language that now those improvements that will be allowed to continue are limited to what the council basically has already approved, or what the town has already approved. And it doesn't leave it kind of wide open to whatever anybody wants to do between now and the end of the year. So it's a very small language change, but I think it does accomplish what the council was concerned about.
I will make a motion that we pass the amended temporary emergency order as presented.
Second.
So we have a motion and a second to extend the town's limited declaration of state of emergency. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it. Great. And now we are at NB1, discussion and action regarding temporary bike path detour. I believe we have somebody here from the Department of Transportation. Who,
We do, Madam President. We'll let them in, moving them in right now.
okay.
And they are here.
Welcome.
Thank
Where
you.
are you? Who are you?
I'm Steve Prastawa from DOT.
Oh, hello, welcome. So for the benefit of the council and anybody who is listening, would you like to explain to us in simple terms what the Department of Transportation is asking of the town of Warren?
Sure. So as part of the detour for the East Bay Bike Path that goes through Barrington and Warren, the local representatives have reached out to us with the concerns of the safety of the bicyclists and pedestrians that are going around those bridges, and asked us to take a look at some improvements to be made in that area. We went back to work with the consultant, came up with with an alternative that would allow for an 8-foot wide continuous protected area from one end, from the Warren end to the Barrington end at Police Cove. And to do that, there are a couple areas that in Barrington that would be on Barrington public property, and in this area where we would be putting a small bridge to connect back to the bike path that's immediately getting off the Warren Bridge. And that's why we're here today, to get a use agreement for that area that would connect back to the bike path and get users back on their way.
Madam President, if I may. So the proposed area that DOT would like to use cuts across the foundation of the existing flagpole. When we originally started talking about this, the flagpole and the foundation were not installed. I reached out to Mr. Cunningham, who is here tonight from Commonwealth Engineering, who is the state's engineer. I've suggested that they look to slide the path to the west. We've put a lot of effort into the development of the pump station. The landscaping is being complete. To tear the foundation out, to remove the flagpole for an undetermined period of time seems unreasonable to me. I think that it's incumbent on DOT to look at alternatives to slide that pathway to the west. Mr. Cunningham has suggested that's an option, as well as some other fencing. So I don't, in theory, I don't think we're opposed to giving the right of way, but I don't think it's in the town's best interest to rip out a foundation and a flagpole and a flag that flies every day at a new pump station, just because we have this undetermined period of time for a temporary solution.
Mr. Prastawa, do you have the authority to make that adjustment to the design?
Yeah, could you let Tom speak? He's our engineer on that.
Yeah, we can let him in. Hang on one second. Mr. Cunningham is here. If you just unmute yourself, Tom, there you go.
Yes, how are you? My name's Tom Cunningham. I work for Commonwealth Engineers and Consultants in Providence. Yes, I've been corresponding back and forth with Bob relating to the flagpole. And as I suggested, there are a couple options that we could do, which would be to remove the foundation and install a new one a little bit further to the west, and then reinstall the flagpole so that it would be there during the entire duration that the temporary bridge was installed. The other option is to, we could shift the bridge possibly a foot or two, and then put a chain link fence or a post and rail fence along the perimeter of the bike path itself, so that it would keep people away from the flagpole itself and off of the sewer property. So there are a couple options that are available, which would allow us to install the bridge and temporary path.
I would suggest the post and rail fence and keep the existing foundation and flagpole is most appropriate.
Right now, the way that the layout is, it's only about a foot. The pole foundation is about a foot away from the fence and rail. And so we could adjust that and make sure that it's sufficient, at least a foot away.
Ms. Cronin, is this a time for questions since we have?
Yes, this is a time for questions. You may have the floor, Councilman Di Pasquale.
Mr. Cunningham, I'm sure you've visited the site. If not, you've seen an image of the site. Listening to your 2 or 3 different alternatives, it sounds as if it's not a problem on moving it and keeping what we've just installed there. Is that correct?
There's a slight deviation on where the foundation is for the bridge itself, because there is an existing gas line within that area. So we are limited as to how far we can shift the foundation for the bridge itself. Like I said, we could look at adjusting it a foot or so, which would move the rail fence or fence about a foot away from the flagpole itself. So we wouldn't need to move the flagpole or foundation, but the rail fence would be very close to it.
Thank you for refreshing my memory about the gas line. Thank you.
Councilman Heckert?
Thank you. So this is going to be a tar pavement installation, and I'm glad to hear that it's not going to be chain link fence. Is that what the original intention was?
Yes, the
Tar-
original intention was so that we could keep the pedestrians away from and off of the other portion of the pump station property.
But using chain link and there's a tar path, is that asphalt?
Yes, that is
Okay.
correct.
And so it's not going to be very attractive, that's for sure. And it's going to be there for how long?
It's probably be approximately 3 years or so. Steve?
Yeah, so we, anything longer than that, we've run into, we have the CRMC permit for that area would be problematic if we go anything. The permit is for 5 years until we have a better idea of the other wooden bridge project.
So, Madam President, if I may, I mean, we just went from 3 to 5 years in a matter of 10 seconds. Again, with no disrespect for Mr. Cunningham or DOT, I mean, my suggestion is that we keep the flagpole and the foundation. They put the split rail fence in and they slide the path. Because it's undetermined. We heard 3 years ago that this is going to be a 2-year project. So, I mean, again, with no disrespect, I don't have a confidence as to what the timeline of this project is. And we've just finished the pump station. We're finishing the landscaping. To say we're going to rip the foundation out, put a temporary foundation and relocate that, that's just my opinion, ma'am.
No, and I'm sorry, like when I say, I'm just saying the length of the permit, we're not saying that's the length of the project.
No, because it could be longer.
Yeah, if I may, the idea of chain link fence there just really does not sit well with me as well. The pump station currently doesn't have any fencing around it. I mean, it's exposed, yes, but I don't believe I've heard any reports of people climbing on it or going on it. That's not a problem right now. So I don't think we should assume that they would just because the bike path goes by there. I would prefer no chain link fence, and the effective date of this agreement being from July 1, 2021 through June 30, 2026 just doesn't seem appropriate either, because that infers that we're definitely going to be living with this until 2026 of June. And I don't want to live in that world. I would be a lot more agreeable to do these and, we'll see you in a year, and, you know, we'll be having reports all along as to the status of the full replacement of the bike path bridges, and hopefully consideration of some other new, more modern materials like composites, and, you know, moving forward in a really positive way, because approving this as it is right now just seems like we would be acquiescing to something that we're not really that excited about at all. We've got some hands up in the room. We've got Rick Kalunian, and we have Solicitor DeSisto. I will recognize the solicitor first, and then Mr. Kalunian after.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I thought I heard that one of the issues was the CRMC permit. And, you know, as you know, I also represent CRMC. That permit or assent can be modified at any time. It can be renewed at any time. It was granted administratively rather quickly, too. So I don't see that as an obstacle to any changes that need to be made here from a procedural standpoint. Thank you.
Mr. Kalunian?
Good evening. My name is Rick Kalunian. I work with the Department of Transportation in the Real Estate Office. And I did coordinate the draft agreement that was submitted to the town with Tom Cunningham. And I just wanted to kind of get some clarification even for myself. Tom, was there any way to share this graphic tonight at the meeting so folks could maybe see what it was you were talking about? And I don't mean to put you on the spot. If you can't, you can't.
Yeah, I don't have the graphic available.
So am I to understand, since I submitted this to the town, you've had conversations with, I'm sorry, was it Mr. Rully, to modify the sketch and the scope of work that you presented to me to present to the town, just so I know?
Yes, we've had a conversation. Bob had a concern that the foundation and flagpole was in, and he questioned whether it could be, whether the bridge itself could be shifted or not. And so,
okay. So at a minimum, I'll be getting a new agreement to present to the town from you that includes a new graphic and a new scope of work that reflects that, if that's what the council wants to do.
Yes.
Okay. And then the other thing that I just want to be carefully address, we are using federal money for the construction. I have to go to the Federal Highway Administration and tell them that I'm going to secure this agreement prior to us doing the work. I don't know actually how long the construction is going to take, but we need to assure them that we are going to have the rights to use the property, at least for the duration of the construction, or what the duration of the project will be. So I'm not so sure renewing this on an annual basis is going to be something that's palatable there. But I'm just mentioning that that's food for thought for both Mr. Bristower to think about it, you know, when we go back to the director, because every year that I have to get this agreement renewed, I have to go back to Federal Highway, back to State Properties Committee, root it through, and it's kind of a cumbersome process. So I think once and for all, we should just decide what we think the duration of the state's use for this property is going to be. If it's 3 years, it's 3 years. If it's 5 years, it's 5. But we should certainly, or add a paragraph that says, you know, once it's no longer needed, it ceases. It might be a better option, just to make sure that we have the rights we need to maintain the bike path until we have another alternative.
Madam President, if I may.
The purpose of my statement was that with that 2026 date in there, that sounds like we're going to be living with this proposal for that time. Now, if you're saying that that there needs to be an agreement in place while construction is being done, I hope you mean you mean construction of the replacement bridges, correct?
Well, yeah, well, it would have to be in place as long as the state intends to construct this, which this isn't going to be done in a month, I don't think, with foundations. And then for the duration that we intend on having the public use this bike path, yes, until another alternative is constructed to get them off the town's property. So and again, how long is that going to take? I can't speak to that. I'll have to defer to Mr. Bristower. But my understanding was they cushioned this with enough time, not only to construct this temporary bike path, but also to allow its use until some future date. And again, I got to defer to others as far as the long-term project. I'm not aware what the schedule is for that.
Madam President.
Okay,
if I
so
may?
you do realize, in a moment, Mr. Rowley, you do realize that this is the probably second or third time we've been having these discussions publicly, and there was a such an easy and positive and confident presentation made to us in the past that said, oh, we can get this done in 2 weeks. Like it'll take us 2 weeks to get this done. And, you know, this is easy going, like no problem. We're going to have you all up and running in 2 weeks. So when we're getting these, you know, just completely different timeframes and construction schedules, it's hard to know what to really count on and believe. We need some assurance.
I apologize. I'm just in the real estate office. The project, they came to me when they said, hey, we need to use some property. Those meetings, I saw you already approved some minutes. I was not privy to the meetings. I'm not all that familiar with the project, but I was presented with an agreement to present to the town. So again, I've got to kind of defer back to the others. I know Tom agreed that we're probably going to revise the scope of work and the sketch. As far as the time frame, I'm going to have to defer to either Tom or Steve on that. If they tell me it's needed for a year, I take it for a year. If they tell me it's needed for longer, I take it for longer. I don't control the schedule for their projects. I just do all the real estate for every project that the state puts out.
Okay, I will recognize Planner Rowley.
So, Mr. Clooney, and you have my sympathy because, I mean, again, I mean, so the frustration that the members of the council, the residents of Warren, and as well as Barrington, and anyone that uses the East Bay Bike Path Bridge is that we've heard a lot of, you know, we can't do this, it's going to be this, it's going to cost this much, there's no plan. You know, you're in the real estate section, I appreciate that. You know, we are in the process working with DOT, with Jody Richards in your office, with federal money to install a composite bridge across the Kickamuit River, which is a longer span than either of the spans that would cross either the Palmer River or the Barrington River, and for substantially less cost. But we've consistently heard that this project is $15 million, $20 million. So there's a hesitation for anybody to sign up for anything that says, you know, it's 6 years and we don't know what it's going to cost. So, you know, I don't appreciate what you're going through, but, you know, I don't think it's unreasonable to say, yeah, come back to us in a year and tell us where you are, because we started this conversation 2 years ago when the bridges were you know, the representation at that time is we would be starting construction on these new bridges now. And we're not. And, you know, we've had Director Alviti say this may or may not be a permanent solution. That has been echoed very loud to be unacceptable. So I think, you know, I mean, my recommendation as the planner is that, you know, we look at this again in a year, because, I mean, we want to reach out to our federal delegation as well. As you know, the benefit of the bike path isn't just to the Warren residents, not for Barrington residents, anybody that lives in Rhode Island or anybody visits Rhode Island. And the safety concerns that you incur by putting people out where you're doing it now. I'm an avid cyclist. I've been a cyclist for 55 years. It doesn't bother me, but I see students from Barrington riding their bikes to school every day. And, you know, I worry that they're going to be a statistic. So if it's an inconvenience to come back to us in a year, we apologize. But I think that's my recommendation to the council, that they don't give you any more than a year.
Mr. Cronin, could I want Mr. Colunian and whoever else Mr. Rowley feels should respond to respond. He just said a lot, and I think it should be heard, and there should be a response. And then I'd like to just say something.
I apologize that I spoke out of school.
No, not at all. Not at all. You're setting the stage. It's my responsibility, our responsibility, to follow up. I don't want your words to be lost. But I also don't want them to not have the opportunity to answer, because I'm getting to a point to make a motion.
So if I could, the construction will be this fall for the bigger project. We're looking to get some work on the Barrington side over the summer on some of the off-road portions of the project. But it's, so it's something, remember, the bigger project, there are a lot of unknowns about that, and we've been pretty straightforward about that. When the price of the project ballooned out of what we had in the tip, it became an issue. And along those lines, what we're here requesting the easement for is, but just what Bob was saying, is to try and provide that 8-foot safe area to get from the one side of the closed bridge to the other side of the Barrington closed bridge. So yeah, I understand the frustration relative to the 2 bridges that are closed, but what we're really here for tonight is to provide a safe link around those until there's a decision on how those are going to be handled.
All right, Ms. Cronin, may I? I appreciate what you do. The timeline and how you do it is always boggles our mind. If the town of Warren were going to be responsible for this project, we would set our priorities, as everyone knows, in a budget. That budget would represent our priority with the top amount of money. Obviously, we've been involved in government for years. We know that. The state, DOT, and TIP does not follow that process. Don't know why, unless, of course, it's because your priorities shift every year and we try to set our budgets based upon what you're saying. That is the foreshadowing you need to hear once again, because I'm sure you've picked up on the fact that we're all very leery on listening to promises about the future. So I will then say, I support a path that will give people safety, which will not get rid of the majority of our beautification that we've just spent the money and the effort to do. So the flagpole stays, put in the rail fencing. I'm sure you can even zigzag it because that'll be safety control for speed control. So that, as I was thinking, will get you around the gas pipe. So a nice, sexy zigzag is all you need. And I think that 3 years isn't unreasonable, because I know that you guys really can do whatever you want. And this is all kind of unfortunate reality of our piece of dirt that we own. Other than that, we really can't control the destiny of the bridge. I do think you should look at cheaper alternatives. I just spent an hour under that bridge. Sure, there's rust. Sure, there's some rot. But those 24-inch I-beams are going nowhere. That bridge is not going to fall down. You should put 3/4 exterior decking on top of it, plywood, and it would be fine. And I would actually take that responsibility. It's a bicycle path. For the love of God, it's a bicycle path. You're sending people in the road. I witnessed a car accident, not a car accident, thank God, but a bike accident. And the woman who was unfortunately in the road, avoiding the people who were following the rules and walking their bikes, not following the rules and going around them. This woman was on the outside and she went right down. I hope no one dies, as we all do. But I still will say, and I've echoed it in my head, those bridges are going to stay there. They're not falling down. So the termite damage, everything that you guys talk about, yeah, it's an old bridge. But it's standing there as we talk about its safety. So if you want that motion, I'll give it to you. If my fellow counselors want it, I want safety is my #1 concern. So you can have the easement. It'll be zigzagged. You'll save our flagpole. I'll put it at 3 years. I don't think putting it a year is feasible, only because they're just going to come back. They're going to come back in 3 years anyway. Remember where I used to live, 74 Main Street. My children were born in the temporary bridges where the bridges that never got torn down were their playground, for God's sakes. So I'm frustrated. I'm frustrated with DOT. I'm frustrated with your budgetary process, the TIP process. Everything about how you guys do business is so different than how we do business, because we set a priority in a budget and we follow through on it. So that's a motion. I'll remove all of those superfluous words. Make a motion, give you a zigzag path, flagpole stays, make it as beautiful as you can, wooden rails. And we need safety number one for the people who are using the bike path. I also, that's it. That's my motion.
Okay, Councilman Di Pasquale has made a motion that it would be from July 1st of 2021 to June 30th of 2024, with all of the other language of safety being a priority, zigzagging, so to avoid encroaching on the existing flagpole, and we'll see you in 3 years. Do we have a second on that?
I agree with Joe's motion. The only thing I have a little issue with is making it a zigzag. Don't you think we should, as long as they don't touch our flagpole and they put the fence up, let them figure out how to do it?
My logic there, John, was, and this discussion on the motion, my logic there was simply to maybe let them think about that aspect versus coming back and saying we couldn't do it and the flagpole's gone.
Right, yeah.
I'm just trying to make it as easy as we could to keep it all there.
Okay. Yeah, because I wouldn't want to say that it has to be zigzag and they find out another way to do it. That's why, because that's in your motion itself.
I think the important thing is keeping the flagpole. So, and I think Tom was saying that is possible design wise. So that shouldn't be an issue.
So there's been a couple of suggestions that we keep the agreement to 1 year, which I agree seems just too short. And Councilman Di Pasquale is saying 3 years. I don't know, maybe splitting the difference to 2 years. Does it really matter? I don't know, but it would shorten that time frame where, so give us an opportunity to sit down again and talk about this in 2 years.
President, if I could just probably go deeper than I'm already drowning. My only suggestion with the 1 year is that, we need to understand within a reasonable period of time, is DOT going to replace the bridges or not? And, if we don't see any forward momentum in a year from now that we're having meaningful conversations about replacing the bridges, that will influence the conversation about how long we want to keep that. That's my only incentive for, saying the 1 year, because we've had this conversation now for 2 years.
Madam Chair, if I could, on discussion, because I made the motion and also wanted to bring in the fact that we didn't give the state any permission. If you remember, their first request was to make Crescent Street a one-way and get rid of the no parking. So number one, my obligation is public safety. We didn't give the state any permission, and they were able to just make a cut, detour traffic onto a public road, and then onto the sidewalks and then into the road. Even though that's not their intention, we see what the unfortunate byproduct is of people trying to pass each other. So that's why I figured the 3 years. You want to go with the 1 year? Fine. I want something there that's going to be safe for the people who ride the path. And then I also feel that if the state isn't hearing what we're saying, shame on them. There's nothing we can do about it. We need to provide something safe for these people.
So we have a motion, as Councilman Di Pasquale so eloquently stated. Do we have a second? Did Councilman Hanley, did you second that? With the 3 year, but you wanted DOT to
I would have seconded Joe's motion except for the zigzag language.
I can remake the motion.
Okay.
Nobody seconded it, so it's irrelevant. I make a motion that we allow them to put up the cut through in whatever configuration is needed to keep our flagpole, put wooden fencing to make it aesthetically pleasing as possible, and make it safe. The number one priority is safe.
Okay. In 3 years, or you want to stay with 3 years or 2? What do you want to go with?
I've been around long enough to know, John, 1 year is not going to fly.
Right. I agree.
Why waste their time? He's outright saying, 3, 5, hey, I'm going with 3. That's where I feel at least it's realistic.
All right, I will second that motion.
All right, we have a motion and we have a second. Mr. Kalunian, you have something to,
Yes. I think this is
add?
an important point as to the duration. The term of the agreement also includes removing and restoration. So remember, if at the end of a 1 or a 2 or a 3-year period, that means when this agreement expires, we have to remove everything from the property or we will be trespassing. So even the 3-year duration means we will probably be back before you in 2 years to find out if we're going to need to extend it a longer period of time. Otherwise, we're going to need that last period to remove the temporary bridge, the fencing, and restore the property as we've indicated we would do in the agreement, and install those additional things for the, I guess what is it, a pump station over there? I think we're supposed to do some plantings or fencing and things like that. So I just want to point that out. So I think that 3 years really should be the minimum from, or by the time we get everything built, the people will use it. It'll be time to come back and either say, we've got to remove everything and the temporary bike path goes away, or you're going to be extending it. So I'm not sure.
There's our 3 years. I'm sure you're salaried. We get $89 a month after taxes. So in regards to all coming back at the table and wasting our time, we're not. And I'm sorry if I sound a bit callous with that, but we have a lot of paid people who are putting a lot of money forward on this, and we're not really getting the results that I think you deserve. Your salary, your pay grade, all of these fine engineers, all of these great consultants, we're not really getting anything out of it. So I say, let's get to work. 3 years.
All right,
stands.
we have a motion and a second, and you can be assured that this is not the last conversation we will be having on the topic of the bike path bridges for the next 3 years. We will be visiting this repeatedly until we get the answer that we deserve, which is a full replacement of those bridges. And this bike path detour that needs to be safe as it can possibly be. We will, with the vote of the council, you will have that permission, and we will be in communication regularly. So we have a motion and a second. All in
Madam
favor?
President, if I could just add to what you just said, we are in the process of setting up an update meeting as we speak for next week. So there'll be a couple meeting dates that we're floating around to the delegation on both sides. So that is coming. We mentioned it at the last meeting that we are going to continue with the updates, and that will be coming next week as well. So just so you know.
Great, thank you. All right, so all in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? The ayes have it. All right, we'll be looking for groundbreaking there ASAP, because it's not working the way it is. So thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right, we have accomplished NB1, NB2. Discussion and action regarding refurbishing of the tablets on the Veterans Honor Roll from the Veterans Honor Roll Committee. We have been provided a statement and proposal by Dave McCarthy, Chair of the Veterans Honor Roll Committee. Is Mr. McCarthy here with us this evening?
Yes, he's coming in now.
Okay. And did we lose Mr. DeSisto? No, he's right there. I see him. You're the center square almost, and I kind of lost you for a moment. Okay, so once Mr. McCarthy gets on the line, I will ask Mr. DeSisto to give his legal thoughts and opinions. We can have discussion and Mr. McCarthy can respond as questions come forward. Is he not there yet?
Here.
There we are.
There they are.
Hello, good evening, welcome.
Thank you. And thank you all for your support over the Memorial Day weekend. It's great to see you all there. Thank you.
You're welcome. So did you hear my sort of setting up
Yes.
of this discussion? All right,
I
so
do.
I will hand it over to Mr. DeSisto.
Okay, the matter that is on the agenda is discussion and action regarding refurbishing of the tablets on the Veterans Honor Roll from the Veterans Honor Roll Committee. And you have the memorandum from Dave on this. And the proposal is to have these plaques rebronze from the same company that did it originally. And I have 2 points on this. The first point is I'm assuming that this is a sole source procurement in that I don't know if you can get another company to do the rebronzing. That's the first thing. The second thing is I do think it's appropriate that the council approves this because the honor roll is on town property. And this is, you know, a town endeavor. Even though what Mr. McCarthy is doing here is utilizing private funds and it's a federal grant, right, Dave?
Not all of it, the state and federal.
It's a state and federal grant, but there's also private money that's being utilized.
Yes.
Okay, so no town funds being used on this thing. And my initial concern on this was the questions under Title 45, Chapter 55, the bid laws. But because these funds are coming from private sources and other governmental sources, it appears to me that that's not the case. I just want to say 2 things, though. You have an honor roll committee. And because of a law that was passed in 1942, it's section 30-28-8. And it says that the town council of each town and the mayor of each city shall appoint a committee whose duty it shall be to prepare and post the rolls of honor. And that's the honor roll committee that you have. It's from this statute. And by the way, the section states that it shall be construed as being mandatory and not permissive. That means every city and town needs to have an honor roll committee and a roll of honor, as it's called in the statute. That said, the rolls of honor shall be posted, rolls of honor, by the way, you can have more than one, shall be posted in conspicuous places within the limits of cities and towns and shall be revised at frequent intervals. That means that the statute, I think they anticipated back then, and it's been changed only twice since then, in 1943 and 1956. But it was contemplated that there would have to be revisions of the rolls at the frequent intervals, as you know, more wars are fought and more history, I guess, is discovered. So I only bring this up, and it's not appropriate for discussion tonight. But I think in the future, you may want to take a look at making it so that you have other media for these rolls of honor here in Warren, because this is something you're going to have to keep doing with these bronze plaques. And I just wanted to, I've been asked questions from council members, and I just wanted to cite to the relevant statute on this. Really all you have to do is approve what Dave has for the rebronzing. But I did want to make those comments on section 30-28-8. If you have any questions, be happy to answer them.
I'll make a motion. We approve the expenditure for the rebronzing and cleaning of the rolls.
John, can you also add that this is not subject to the state's bid law or the ordinances on bidding for the town?
Yes,
Because
subject
of the funding used.
Yep, subject to not being under the jurisdiction of the state bidding laws or the town's ordinances for collective for bidding.
I'll second that.
Muted, unmuted. Any further discussion? Okay, so we have a motion and a second to approve the expenditure for rebronzing the honor roll as it stands now. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any
Aye.
opposed? The ayes have it. I have a question. So the work that is to be done, if there is to be an additional motion that is separate, that will add the new names to the honor roll, that's a separate job?
It is. What we're doing here is we're rebronzing. Now, I use the word rebronzing loosely. It's really refurbishing. We're not actually going to rebronze them. It's delicate work because you have to use people who are specialists in bronze because you have to use certain chemicals, and not all bronzes are the same. There's different chemical components to them. So it's very intricate work. And right now it calls for 11 tablets to be refurbished. The 12th tablet, which now has a saying on it, will become the place where the new names are going to be placed. Additional names are going to be placed, which was always the plan. It was the plan of the original committee, and it's the plan of this committee. I might add, thanks to Facebook, I thought we'd be adding about 24 names to the honor roll. I think we're going to like triple that from Facebook. We're hearing from people out of state who were residents of Warren when they entered the armed forces. So there'll be more names going on the honor roll than we thought, thanks to Facebook.
And so the work to be done, adding those new names, is that scheduled? And are the names to be added, is that list, has that been voted on and approved?
No, what happened is we published the first, what we did, we set a July 4th deadline to get names in. We're having a meeting in first part of July where we'll go over the names. We're going to proofread them, all that. Then we're going to have a plaque made with those names on them. That will be something else that will probably be coming before you. Again, that will be below any bidding price, or it's again private money. So again, we don't have to worry about bidding. But it's even if we had to worry about bidding, the cost of it will be below the bidding price for that.
Okay.
I think it's going to be around $4,000 to have that plaque made.
Right, as you stated here. So that process is ongoing, the
Yes.
collection of names and the approval of names.
Right. We hope to get it to the forge by August 1st, have it done. They want 2 months, get it done by October 1st, have it back in Warren and installed by October 1st so that we can rededicate the honor roll on its 20th anniversary, which would be Veterans Day 2021.
Very good. All right.
Ronan, if I could,
Yeah.
Mr. McCarthy, I want to just go on the record and let it be known. I appreciate the funding sources that you're able to draw from, but I know I speak for everyone that there would be no cost too high for the town of Warren to financially support anything and everything that you would recommend. So I do appreciate, I'm sure everyone does, but I don't want there to be any misgivings in any way that this is not an issue that we're trying to not spend money on. So we.
Oh, no, we know that. Thank you, Joe. We know that.
Okay. Well, I need you to know that we.
Yes, thank you.
You
may have to come up with money in the future. So we'll see.
It's a small price to pay.
Yes. Thank you.
All righty. So we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Did we already vote?
I thought so.
We've had a lot of votes tonight. It's unanimous. Thank you so
Thank you.
much.
Thank you.
All righty.
Thank you.
Well, thanks for
Dave.
staying up and being here for us.
Thanks,
You're
Dave.
welcome. You're welcome. Thank you.
Good
Bye.
night.
Good night.
All righty. Town manager. Update on Warren Health Equity Zone. Program begins July 1st, 2021. Ms. Mishu, take it away.
So this is a good news item. We've worked with the East Bay Community Action Program to submit an application for a health equity zone, which has been approved by the Department of Health. The town of Bristol has had a health equity zone for a number of years. I believe theirs has been in place for maybe 8 years, something like that. And there are 9 total HESs currently around the state. So Warren, we're very happy to be joining the ranks of the HES communities. It's the way it's structured is that EBCAP will be the backbone organization. So they will actually be the ones receiving the grant. They will be administrating the grant, filing all the reports, doing all the accounting, all that kind of thing. But our role in this will be to participate in the stakeholder committee and help to guide the actions and goals of the program. So the first action that's going to be happening is the hiring of a program director, and the description of that job has been attached in your packet, and I emailed it as well. So if you know of anyone who would be a good fit for this, we'd ask to please forward this information on to them and encourage them to apply directly to EBCAP for this position. They are looking for someone with ties to the community, someone who lives here or was raised here or works here in the town of Warren. The second item is setting up that steering committee. So in the memo that you have, it kind of outlines the different staff members that will be participating in steering. And I would ask that the council designate one member to be the liaison to that committee, to sit when possible, when that committee meets. I don't know when those meetings will be yet because they want to onboard the program director before they actually start holding those steering committee meetings. And then the next thing that will happen is that there will be a needs assessment process that will be run by the program director, where they will actually come up with the action items that the program will seek to undertake through this program. And one of the really good things about the HES program is that it opens up other opportunities for funding. So if the needs assessment determines that there are programs that would be beneficial for the community in order to improve public health and further the goals of the program, then there's other funding sources that become available because we're a HES community. So that's my 9:30 at night summary. And bottom line is I would very much appreciate if a council member might want to volunteer to participate in that steering committee. It doesn't have to happen tonight. If you want to think about it, that's fine too. But you know, I know once the program director comes on board, we're going to want to get started right away.
Madam President, if nobody else wants to be involved, I will gladly assist whatever, you know, I can offer the town manager on this. But, you know, if anybody else wants to step up, that's fine too, but I'll help out Kate with whatever she needs.
Mr. Hanley, did you want to volunteer as well?
I was waiting to see if anybody else. No, I wasn't going to volunteer. I was going to make a motion that we appoint Steve to the steering committee.
That's so kind. Well, Councilman Kalenda, that's quite generous of you to volunteer. And if no others did, I was willing to offer myself. But let's move forward with this. And once they find the best candidate and they are hired, then we'll let you know when you need to be meeting.
Interesting enough, I was actually going to put my name out there since I'm very intimate with EBCAP and felt that I could add a lot to the conversation, but
Hey, can we have more than one council member?
I think you could. I mean, you definitely couldn't have three because that would be a quorum of the council. And that would
I could be an alternate. Mr. Kalenda, you have
Okay.
a better
No,
schedule.
it's all you if you want it. It doesn't matter.
I think if the two of us commit, it would be a better service because
There you go.
we could have conflicting schedules, and then if both of us are available, you and I will talk. It's not like we're not talking.
Brent, you want to be an alternate?
Sure, why not? I just throw it in there.
I'm going to amend my motion to put Joe and Steve on the steering committee and Brant to serve as an alternate.
There we go.
All right, we have a motion. Was that a second? Was there a second?
Second.
Yeah.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Wow, nicely done. All right,
Teamwork, huh?
great. All right, moving on. The Recreation Director. Discussion and action regarding bid for the roof replacement at Pete Seppi Pavilion. Ms. Thibodeau, are you?
I am. I'm right here.
Oh, hi. So we have a bid here for $7,000 for this work.
Yes, right now we would like to put this on hold. We have, the DPW is looking at completing the project. They want to do one project first to see if it's something that they can handle. And if they can, we want to see if, have them do the pavilion. But we want to leave this open just in case they are unable to do that. And we would accept this bid.
Wait a minute, did you say you want, DPW is thinking of doing the roof?
Yes.
Why?
Yeah.
Mr. Hanley, I'm going to recognize you. You have a question?
Tara, are they just doing a layover or is it a strip? Do they have to strip the old shingles down?
They do not have to strip it. There is only actually one layer of shingles
Okay.
on the building. They are 25 plus years old. But yeah, so it's just an overlay.
Okay.
And so they expressed interest. Jan wants to give them the opportunity and possibly save us some money. And then that way we can do more than one roof. So he asked that we put this on hold, but we keep this bid just in case that is not feasible.
Okay, I'm going to defer to the town manager and Jan on the
Madam President,
on the situation, because roofing is a dangerous, high workman's comp classification job. But I'll defer to the manager and Jan Malik to make that decision.
And I will recognize Councilman Kalenda next.
Thank you. Hey, John, I hear you loud and clear. And I mean, you're a building official in the city of Pawtucket. I think this is a little outside the scope of Kate and Jan. I mean, if you want to bring the building official in the town of Warren in for a little bit of the conversation, I'm fine with that. I don't know if I'm comfortable with just doing an overlay because we're just kicking the can down the road. If there needs a new roof, then strip it and put a new roof on. The only question I have for our Parks and Recreation, Tara, were you doing half or were you doing the whole?
Whole thing.
The whole roof. Yeah, I can't support doing an overlay. I feel that that's just a Band-Aid. It could cause further problems down the road. I would rather see us, if we have to push it off a year, do a complete strip, a brand new roof, and move forward with that. And if the Public Works thinks that they can handle this, that's fine. But I think it's outside their scope. Thank you.
Thanks. I have Councilman DePasquale.
When you look at what roofers do, they only do roofs. They have all the roofing tools. They're fully prepared for roof situations, even though it's just a canopy roof or whatever the proper term is, John. I don't know.
Pavilion. Yeah, it's a straight hip roof, right?
But I mean, even still, I would see a roofing company being in and out of there in 2 days. And that's like cleanup and everything. I don't know. This is a weird one for me to deliberate on.
If I can just follow up with the question, Madam President, to the Parks and Recreation Director.
Yes. Go
Thanks.
ahead.
Hey, Tara, how many square? Do we have a count on how many square?
Sorry, I'm looking at the.
I mean, it's a pretty big roof. My guess would be it's 50.
It is a big roof. I'd have to get back to you honestly, Steve.
No, that's fine.
Is it like 50 by 100, the building?
It is, actually, the building is 210 square feet. I'm sorry. Nope, I'm sorry. 4,814 square feet. 83.
It's about 40 to 50 square shingles on that roof. Yeah.
Yeah. So, the current rate for a strip and repair and replace shingles is 600 a square. I mean, you just, whatever the price is, But
so I did have a local contractor a while back look at the roof,
Okay,
And they had suggested that you just needed to go over it. To your point about, and that was one of our roofing companies in town. They said that we did not have to strip it. I can go back and I can follow up and get a second opinion. I have no problem doing that.
well, they're saying that so that because it's, you know, it's a quicker and easier job for them to get in and out, and they're going to have a bigger profit margin.
Well, no,
But-
they actually didn't bid on this job.
Yeah, but I mean, I would never do a overlay on my own house, never mind what I support having it done on a structure that is in our community. It's an old way of doing things. You just don't do that these days. And very rarely do you do it. I own multiple buildings, and I would never do an overlay on any one of them that I own.
It gets more expensive as time goes on, Steve.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so from the sounds of this, and you all clearly have more experience on roofs than I do, but looking at this piece of paper, the project description is roof replacement. So, and the quote or the bid is for 7,700. So when it says roof replacement, when Councilman Kalenda and whomever was talking about it, you're talking about a deeper job or a more complete job and fully stripping it. So that's not what this quote is for, or is it for doing?
No.
Okay.
No,
So how would that read? How would you describe that the bigger job?
The bigger job would be to strip existing and replace roof shingles, where this is, they're just putting a new layer over the top of the old ones, which you're legally allowed to do. You can put up to 2 layers on a roof. Is it the wisest thing to do? No, but it's sometimes the most cost effective. But, you know, 25, 30 years down the road, when it needs to be done again, now you're going to be paying to strip off 2 layers. At the 25, 30-year costs, what it's going to be from now. So it is going to be much more expensive the next time they do it.
And John, with the sun that beats down on the pavilion, you won't get that length of period out of those shingles. And the warranty is affected on the shingles when you do an overlay.
Right.
So, yeah, I mean,
Okay.
I'm not trying to stick the pin in this for you, Tara, but
No, listen, I have $10,000 for this
Yeah.
project.
yeah.
So that is also part of the limitation. To strip that would also increase the cost of the project. And there is only, the line budget for this is only $10,000.
So is 10,000 enough to have the full job done that
No,
we're
not-
talking about?
Not to strip it and put on the new shingles.
Probably not. No, you're probably
Okay.
you're probably
Did we-
looking at almost double the quote.
Yeah, Tara, did you do half, one half side already?
What's that?
Did you already do half the repair on half the pavilion, or no? It's
It's
okay.
never been. Mike Marino, probably about 5 years ago, did some patchwork on one area.
Okay.
But that was all that's been done on that pavilion since it was built in the
Well,
90s.
So you know what I'm hearing is making my point that we really need to bring the construction back to the high school, and then we would have our own little workforce that could do it for a very reasonable amount of money. Okay,
Which would be wonderful if we had, but we do not.
yeah, we're working on it. We're working on it.
All right, so I've heard this discussion. What are we moving towards? Not
Madam
doing
President,
anything?
can we table this to next month to get more information to come back on exactly how many squares it's going to be and what the exact cost would be?
That's fine by me, as long as this is not such a critical, crucial thing. If the roof will be fine, it's not gonna blow off in a blizzard.
I hope we don't have a blizzard before next month.
I don't think that there is a time issue. This has been this has been in the budget since 2010-11. So we've waited this long. I don't think one more month is going to hurt us.
With the new roof, we can put solar on it.
Why not?
I will make a motion. We continue this to next month and ask the rec director to see if she can get a bid on the actual stripping and redoing of the roof, as well as the amount of squares.
Perfect. I'll second that.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Thanks, Tara.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Finance Director, we were shared digital copy of the revenues and expenditures. Ms. Chan is maybe here, maybe not anymore. Does anybody have any questions or comments?
No. I didn't see anything that stuck out to me.
I think Ms. Jan did a great job as always.
Agreed. So without any questions or comments, we can move on to Planning and Community Development, formation of a parking management study group. Mr. Rulli, update us on that, please.
Yes, Madam President, I don't think all three of these matters will take more than 3 hours, so I just give that advance notice.
You're gonna be here by yourself.
Yep.
Won't be the first time. So, yeah, we have formed a parking management study group. It's representatives of 2 members of the planning board, 2 members of the zoning board, members of the community. We were scheduled to have our first meeting tonight, but I forgot that we were starting at 6, so we will have our first meeting at 6 o'clock on Monday. So we'll be looking at the petition from Ms. McDougal for permit parking in the Hale, Campbell area, as well as looking at parking in the Water Street and downtown area. So I've shared with them previous parking studies that were done. So I'm optimistic that we've got a good cross-section of people, and we will be able to come back to you, in a short period of time with some recommendations.
Okay.
That fills my calendar for available nights that I'm out.
All right. Well, and you have fully populated this parking management study group?
Yeah, there's other people that want to join or are welcome to join. I mean, I try to have a cross section of residents, business owners, and again, town officials. The deputy police chief is participating as well. So yeah, I think we have a good cross section.
Very well. All right. Next is agreement and authorization for the town council president to execute an amendment to the net metering credit sales agreement by and between Green Development LLC and the town of Warren. So we have some money left over, or we can.
No, so on this,
that's the next one.
So I sent you a memo. We had entered into agreement with Green Development for the development of a commercial solar array at the landfill. DM is holding us up a little bit in terms of the permitting on that. Green Development has other projects that are coming online, and they've come forward and said, if we want to take energy from those projects, they'll honor the price agreement that we have, that we had entered into for our landfill. So the advantages of that are 3 or 4. One is that we are locked into a price of 10.4 cents a kilowatt hour for 25 years with no escalation. That can start as quickly as this fall. We also initially did not include the wastewater treatment plant as part of our agreement. We'll be able to do that. So there's significant cost savings there. We also will be able to charge them more rent for the landfill if we are not taking energy from that solar array, because we're not a party to that. So, I mean, I don't see any downside to this. And the fact that we could be 18 months sooner in realizing energy savings, I think that's an advantage to the town.
Anthony, did you get a chance to review the amendment?
I did, yes. I think this is good for the town because you get that net metering money.
Okay.
So essentially what they're doing is they're just transferring these credits from the project that was supposed to be here. We're getting it from another project that's up and running. Isn't that correct, Bob?
That's correct.
I think that's a good deal.
All right, I'll make a motion. We authorize the town council president to execute the amendment to the net metering credit sales agreement with Green Development LLC.
Second.
A motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. All
And then
right.
finally, the third item is that as part of the upgrades to the wastewater treatment plant, when it came in over bid, we pulled out energy efficiency upgrades to the operations building through a program of the Rhode Island Office of Energy Resources. We were afforded an energy consultant. We relooked at those energy upgrades. We've come up with a scope of work to do that. We have just over $88,000 available in funding from a 2018 loan that we took from the Infrastructure Bank to do energy upgrades or efficiency upgrades at Town Hall, Government Center, and Cork. So the first part of this resolution is to authorize us to utilize those remaining funds. The second piece is that if we need to borrow additional money in fiscal year 2022 or FY23, not to exceed $250,000, which would not require any kind of public referendum, that we would do so. We had a meeting today with the consultant and the new operators. There's some fine tuning to some of the numbers we need to do, but these are upgrades that need to happen at the plant, and just wanted you to be aware, as you saw in the package, what these all entail. So it's lighting, it's new boilers, mini split systems, windows. The solar and roof replacement is off the table because the benefit that we're going to get from this net metering agreement from item number 2 just completely wipes off the benefits of what the solar on the roof would be.
Make a motion to approve.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Discussion.
Mr. Hecker, you have a question?
What's the total cost of the project, Bob?
Right now, it looks like it's just under $400,000 in total. If we did everything. I mean, there's some deferred capital that we will talk with the new operators of the plant, as well as looking at our capital projects, but it's all very reasonable. But, again, we have some money now that we can get the project started.
So the 88 you can utilize. And
We have that available immediately. I mean, the purpose of the resolution is so the Infrastructure Bank, who's meeting later this week, if we want to access those funds will be available. We're not obligated under any circumstances to borrow those. We're also, eligible for some principal forgiveness under the state's DM program. So we just want to make sure that if we execute any of this, we get all the benefits that we're eligible for.
And Mr. Rulli, this is an energy efficiency program, correct?
That is correct.
Right. So any financial impact, the sooner you spend the money, the longer you're going to get the rate of return.
That's
So
correct.
Again, motion to approve.
Yeah, thank you for the explanation. I just wanted to have my head around those numbers a little bit. Appreciate it. Thank you.
So we do have a motion and a second. Who was the second on that?
I was.
I'll second it.
Okay. All right. We've got plenty of seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The ayes have it.
I have a motion to make
As long as it's to adjourn.
from Fort Foreclosure. I make a motion to adjourn. It's a historic night, Ms. Cronin.
I can't believe we're all here together experiencing it. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Good night.
Good night.
Everybody.